Hello, today I have Nick Corollo with me. He's the owner of the hot store, poker player,
Hey guys,
poker coach. What else, Nick? What else do you do? I mean,
I'm not a player now already. So
you're
I
not a
played a few
player.
years ago. I'm not a player. Yeah, I played a few years ago.
Okay.
And now I don't play. I just
Now you just count money
do
from
do.
hand to note. You don't need to play anymore, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I run Hot Store, a Freebet Range Kit Coach, some other projects. But I like to discuss poker, so I'm happy that you invited me.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really interesting.
Yeah,
And
today,
yeah, I know that you're an incredible player, so I like to like
but
participate in that.
but today we have something really crazy because Nick did gave us access to all the hands that played through last 12 months on GG network. So we are able through a powerful range research of hand to note and my new version of Breaktrough HUD go and break down the complete and entire GG pool step by step and giving you a complete guide how to crush, annihilate, whatever you want to do to these guys because they are really bad. And me and Nick gonna show you what you need to do to entirely crush the site. The site that I'm not fan of, but a lot of players play there. So now you have the complete guide how to do whatever you want because with this you will be able to crush them. Okay, Nick. Thank you for the hands that you give to us. It's really valuable infos, and now we are able to do something like this.
Yeah, we are doing NL 200 today, right?
Yes,
So it
today we're
will
gonna
be
go NL
NL.
200. Yes, that's the Russian
Yeah, yeah.
cash last limit. So I think people will be really interesting to seeing this. And in future, if people want us to do, we can do NL 500, NL 1K, even higher limits, whatever people want to see. If people want to see also lower limits, we can do this for every limit and also for any other site if people wants to see this. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we are ready to start. We have a lot of work, so we're going to try to be fast. Nick, whatever question you have, please ask. And let's start. I did summarize a little bit. So we have a 16 pop-ups. So that's like 16 spots to see exactly how the pool of GG play in that situations. We're gonna start from out of position three better. So this is the situation when player is three betting out of position and getting called by in position. Okay, so this
Mm-hmm.
is that pop-up. So we immediately see every position: small blind versus button, small blind versus cutoff, small blind versus early middle position. Same for the big blind. So immediately, what crosses my eyes is some interesting stuff. First, we see that GG pool is losing 12 BBs on 100, and I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest loss on all the pools I've seen.
Mm.
Yeah, Stars pool is losing a lot less. iPoker pool is losing a lot less. ACR pool is losing a lot less. Maybe has to do with high rake, but still, it seems that this is the basically the most losing pool out of all sides. And
Mm.
immediately I see this is their one win soft flop. It's 45. It is less than Poker Stars for almost 3 points.
Mm.
And this is for the big pots. So this is when soft flop when the pot is bigger, and they are also 44. So it is declining, and their when to showdown is increasing a little bit. That means they are more stationary and less aggressive than
Mm.
other pools, and this is their general aggression. So to me, just by looking at this, it seems that maybe this is the weakest pool, and we will go through everything, so we will give the final judgment, but just based on the look it seems like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we're gonna go just to see generally how they play. This is their 3-bet frequency for all positions. uh Nick, you see that actually small blind versus button 12%, you can go to 20%. My 3-bet is 19.4% small blind versus button. So we see GTO is around 15, so it is close to 16. So actually, it is a lot. They are tributing a lot less than the GTO. From small blind, from the big blind, GTO is close to 15%. They are on 10% only. And from what I
Mm-hmm.
noticed, they are not using. You see, like this is the actually grid where we see like if it's yellow, it means that's most used hands, right? And when it's fading, then it means they're a lot less using hands. You see, like they're basically a lot linear in the big blind. So their three bet range is not polarized like it should be, because on the big blind you want to play polarized strategy. So immediately from what we see, they are a lot tighter than the GTO. They are using the wrong ranges, and they defend four bets basically around it. So that means they're using a lot narrower range, and they're uh, defending it with right frequencies, but right
Hmm.
frequencies for the normal range. So they're actually overfolding even here, and generally they are under three betting in all of the spots. And we see that versus ISO. So when somebody ISO and they three bet you, you can actually cut down the frequencies divided by two. So what became like 12%, now it's around 7%, not exactly by two, but a lot less. Their range is a lot stronger. So immediately by looking at this, we see GG network for first thing is under three betting or folding to four bets, and also versus ISO under three betting a lot. Ranges are a lot stronger, a lot more linear. We see a lot more linear ranges, and basically on the big blind they are not polarized. That means that when you call their three bet on the big blind, you need to be actually folding a lot of hands that GTO is calling, because you will be burning money. They're not polarized, they're actually like same, it's more like merged range on the big blind. So definitely something interesting. Like you just based on the pool, you see that they are overly unaggressive preflop, and still folding the same amount as GTO, which range is a lot wider. Just immediately by seeing this, a lot more passive also when soft flop, and little more stationary than usual. But definitely something interesting to see immediately by their range. We see the
Mm-hmm.
pool that is really, you see, like this thing you can make immediately big adjustments, because now on the big blind guys you should be folding a lot more than the GTOs. Like now you're not going to be able to call big blind versus button three bet with a 10 suited. It's just not going to be profitable. You're not going to be able to call him ace jack off. Ace jack off starts to be complete four bet. You were never going to call big blind versus button with the ace jack off, which is calling 66% in the GT world, because their big blind range is not, it is not polarized range. It doesn't have hands like ace 10 off a lot. It doesn't have hands like ace 9 off, king 9 off, jack 10 off, queen jack off. Hands like jack 8 suited, jack 9 suited. It's liking this type of hands, and it's going into linear of the like king jack suited, king 10 suited, ace jack suited, ace 10 suited version. So definitely, and something when they're three betting you against ISO, you can even fold like hands strong as uh, like king queen off. You can immediately fold ace jack off. You can immediately fold. You can fold like hand uh, like king 9 suited, jack 9 suited. All of these hands are now becoming a pure folds in this strategy. So I didn't expect that, because I heard that GG pool is strongest pool. That is what I've heard from people on my Discord. A lot of guys that I was speaking to, they said the GG pool is the strongest pool. That's what I heard. Did you hear something similar?
I don't know. Maybe because in GGPoker people don't have HUD. They don't really know, like they don't know how to exploit. If we're talking about regs, I don't know,
Yeah.
because we are now looking at the all the pool. But if we're talking about regs, maybe they don't have that much edge post flop because they don't have the data on their opponents. So they
They have
probably
some
play
HUD,
more.
right? GG has provided them with some kind of HUD that is in the site.
Yeah, but it's really basic, right? So
Yeah.
they don't maybe they don't feel that much advantage on the post flop. That's why they play more like merged range. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Okay, we'll go now into the post-flop stat immediately. I'm going to try to be fast, and I'm going to give you basically just the most important spots. Just when we go to the post-flop, we see that they're like betting 72% of the position, which is around like normal frequencies on other sides. But the things that I see, right, is that their range is like you need to be aware that their range is a lot stronger than a GTO range, right? Right, they are more narrower, so they have less air, and they're still betting the same amount basically. So if we go to their like CBET strategy, we see actually it has 40% generally around 40% of weak hands. So if we go, this is all the possible boards. So we're gonna see this is all the possible boards. So we want to see like which size is more bluffier. And in the first, the really interesting thing is that the lowest size is actually most value heavy. So like till 25% of the pot is their size that has less weak hands. And the most bluffy
Mm.
size is gonna be around pot plus, so basically an orbit size. Orbit size has the most bluffs in. So I want to see like which type of the boards are most bluffed one. We immediately see that Ace XX board are the less bluffed boards of the fall, and we see that most bluff boards are actually lower boards. So this is like deuce through nine, XX suited, and rainbow. This is the boards that are most bluffed. So in this kind of boards, they will be betting range, and it's actually not a range bet of many of them, but here people will be betting, you see, like 70, 75, 80%. And we can go to see basically all Jack XX through lower boards are most bluffed on, and trips board is the definitely this is gonna be three in a row like queen 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 6 6 6 5 5 5 8 8 8 9 9 9. This kind of board like trips on the flop is gonna be the most bluff boards of the fall. We generally see the constitution of the range. We actually see guys that they're actually having around like 40% immediately on the flop. There's going to be overcards, lower draws, like lower pair into bluffs. So that's for the flop. If we go immediately to see, which I want to know more, is that they're what they're going to be triple barreling as a bluff. We actually see that they're triple barrel as a bluff. If we go here, it's going to be around 20, around 30% bluffs in triple barrel range. 30% bluffs, Nick. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's people are saying through our Discord, the guys that are playing GG and posting hands, and they're saying, "Do we call here? Do we not call here?" They're saying to me like, "This pool is so nitty, they're not bluffing anything." It seems that actually, when they triple barrel, they are bluffing 30% of the time. And let's see which are the hotspots that they are bluffing with. Again, Nick, we see that the block bet in the three bet pots is most value heavy one. It's around like top pair, basically top pair, middle pair heavy. And you see that they even have some slow plays with the block. So block size is the most heavy value heavy size of the fall. That's something across that I'm noticed across every poker site. But interesting is that they are mostly bluffing with big sizes, and I want to see like actually which are the most bluffiest spots that there are. If you go through this, you actually see again that the lowest bluff spots are actually on the Ace XX boards. So Ace XX board are the less bluff boards out of all, and we see that the most bluff is gonna be that's gonna be around 40. Let's see, around 40%. It's gonna be on the lower boards when the overcard hits. That's gonna be 45% weak. So they're mostly bluffing these lower boards. Actually, when the flush hits, it's actually under bluffed. When the third flush hits in the paired boards, low boards, every boards that where the flush hits, there will be under bluffing and quite substantially, but only overcards. And we see actually ace X overcard is not that bluffed. So when the ace hits on the river, like around 21%, they're going to turn into bluff, which I expected to be more. But actually, the most one will be just pure overcard on the low board. So pure overcard that is not an ace. This is the most bluff spot out of all. So this is gonna be like when the overcard hits across the all low boards. When the overcard hits, this is gonna be the most bluffed one. Overcard as ace is not that bluffed. Like we said, overcard after Broadway is only 32%. So if we go to see this, so for example, we have a low board and the river hits a king, jack, 10. So all of the Broadway cards, it's actually 30, 32% weak. I expected that this is going to be a lot higher. So basically, we see a tendency that people are not over bluffing on a scary card in the triple barrel scenarios in 3-bet pots. Something that is quite surprising to me because first you can really easy go for thin value in these situations. Like when the king hits, you can just jam on the low board tens, jacks, queens. It's not that king is something that you need to be afraid as going with the thin shoves on the river. But the thing is that people are not over bluffing these spots. I expected at least like 40-45% when the Broadway hits the river. Because you can go thin for value if you understand what I'm saying, Nick. Like if it's a low
Mm-hmm.
board,
Yeah.
low board is the most bluffiest one, and they are mostly
Mm-hmm.
bluffed actually on the complete brick. I like that's something that's like really to me like surprising. So they are mostly bluffing actually when the river, if you see like 45% is when the river is actually you see brick hard, basically a brick. They are mostly bluffing this situation. So not straight completer, not an ace, not an overcard. Actually, they are bluffing mostly on a brick. And that's like the most bluff spot of the fall in the triple barrel scenarios. So if you needed to think, they will bluff you when the third flush comes, when the it's like we have all the possible scenarios when the flush is completed, when the fourth of the straight, like fourth of the straight is actually the less bluff spot of the fall, like only 22%. Fourth straight and third flush is the most bluffed spot. Only 12% across like all of the spots. So flush completer, straight completer, or flush and straight completer are the least bluffiest spots to out of fall in triple barrel scenarios. To me, this is really surprising. I'm also surprised like that trips board are not that bluffed. And for me, like bluffing mostly on the brick is something really, I like really surprising to me. So I think I will write this in the summary. So just for people to have an idea. So most bluff spots as three barrels are low card, low paired boards, undercard, low card on river. People tend to bluff their hands like king, queen, queen, jack, king 10, which is to me like I didn't expect that happening because many times the guy were posting on the Discord, they were just posting hands like that, and there would be like all folding hands, even like hands like over pairs, like tens, didn't bluff catch because they said like what can they bluff now? Like all is bricked.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this is like really, really
Mm-hmm.
surprising. And most underbluffed spot, like we said, ace 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 XX board and ace XX, and what we said, Nick, straight completer
Yeah,
and
straight and
flush
flush
completer.
complete.
Yeah.
So from what I see till now, it seems like GG Poker pool is not more like passive, right? They don't bluff on the scary cards. But you remember the on Poker Stars? Did you do that analysis on Poker
Yes.
Stars?
Yes, I did.
It's different, right? It's different.
Yes. Poker stars go super thin for value on the overcards. So,
Mm.
example, if you're on the low boards, and we're talking now on the low boards, if you're on the low boards on stars, they will easily like when the river is like king or queen or jack, they will just jack jam pocket tens on the deuce 5, 6, 8, and the river is like queen, they will jam jacks. River is a king, they will jam queens, they will jam jacks, and they will be also bluffing there. They were gonna be just bluffing the hands like a queen 10 suited, like a jack 10. So there you're gonna see like over 35, even close to 40% of bluffs, and here it's gonna be around 25. So it's like substantially more. It's a big difference, because now if you see like
Yeah.
they were not gonna bluff these spots, and on like on poker stars, actually, the Ace XX are also most underbluffed, like it is now, but they are just going thin and they have a lot more bluffs on the lower boards, and actually they bluff a lot more on the straight. Like here's like 12% straight and flush completer, 12%. So you can just fold everything when when you face like a third
Yeah,
flush and the
it's
fourth
weird.
straight, you can just fold range, because if you don't have a straight, you can just fold, because there is no sense in bluff catching a pool that is only bluffing 12% of the time. It's just not gonna be nearly good enough for you to call their bluff catchers in this situation. So it's really good to know, like you see, like generally they triple barrel is on the lower. It's like not aggressive. It's like it's like around 25, 26% across all sizes. If you put like 22 is the low size, 30 is medium size, and 31 is a big size, that's around like 27% of bluffs across all sizes. And that's telling us they are quite passive, like any type of board. If you see and any type like of the river that is going to be happening, they're not going to be over bluffing it. That's the thing. Like,
But why do you think it's like that in GG Poker? I
I
mean,
don't know. I can
what
just
fact?
see maybe there's like too much passive. From what I noticed, I played on the GG, and I noticed that there's really a lot of weird players. You have a lot of like 28, 16 type of players that can't play on any. I didn't, on any other side, I didn't see so much of like this really weird
Mm,
passive. It's like fish, because something when somebody's playing like that, ranges are wider as a call ranges, as they are not that aggressive pre-flop, so they like to see a flop, and they're not willing to take a big like big range spots, as they're gonna like put your range in trouble. Like, this is good for my range, and I'm just gonna put pressure on your range. I don't think they're just not thinking like that. They're just mostly playing. A lot of them is just playing their hand, and a lot of pool is like
mm-hmm.
really passive. So if we go to actually to see their what else is going on, we can just see like they're like betting 72%, but they are stationary. They're looking, they're not underfolding to raise on the flop turn on the river. So their c-betting and fold to raise is only 35% on the flop, 42 on turn. And you need to know the check raise on the turn is the highest value of the fold spots in the three bet pots. Check raise from the turn is like 85% value, and they are folding only 42%. They seems that they are passive station pool, at least in these spots
Mm,
of three bet pots. So you see, like they have c bet and three bet to raise. This is pretty, I would say, pretty high, and they are mostly like top pair plus in this situation. So they tend to fast play. Also, they have tendency to fast play. So you see, like let's try to see like what kind of hands they want to fast play. You see, like they have a top pair, top kicker, queen jack, queen nine jack. They bet, people raise, they immediately shove. Ace 10, even this like little crazy on ace king 8, but ace king on like ace 4 7, they immediately, if they get raised, they immediately jam. So they tend to fast play hands. You see, like ace king on the ace 4 7, they bet flop, the people raised, and they immediately jam ace king. So they are fast playing a lot. Like even here, like you see, they got raised on the king queen 10 monotone. They have an ace king with ace of spade, they immediately getting it in. So I would say, based on this, because they are underfolding to raise, they're also over fast playing these spots on the flop, definitely fast playing it. You see, like they're actually not that weak hands across like any type of boards. Especially look at this, like on the ace xx boards, when they raise, it's basically all top pair and draw. So on the worst case, they're gonna have a flush draw, or they're gonna have top pair plus on the ace xx. When they face a raise, they will just fast play all of these kind of spots. And what is interesting, we see that actually across all boards they are value heavy. So this is the color of the top pairs. So they are just top pair over pair heavy. You see, like across all of these type of boards, ace xx, king xx, jack xx. It is just tendency here on like these lower type boards. We see some even ace king, ace queen hand that they are jamming in this situation, like ace queen. They feel probably it's bluff, like they jam ace king facing a raise on 385 with the king of
hmm.
yeah, I mean that's okay if they're thinking like the people will over raise with the flush draws, shoving with the king. It's really good because when you get it in against the not flush draw, you're actually doing okay. So this kind of tip, this kind of things are good. But definitely, when you're facing this spot, you can just assume immediately by these boards and their diagram, they're just super value heavy. You see, like they're gonna have draw, and there's gonna be flush draw, combo draw, and mostly region is gonna be like, look at this, like 80% is gonna be top pair plus. So basically, when you raise and they jam, it's just gonna be like best case scenario, they're gonna have a flush draw, and it's not gonna happen very often, and everything else is gonna be like top pair plus. So the good thing here you can take is that you can actually raise them a lot in position, because you can use smaller sizes and put them a lot in trouble because they are not calling enough. They are actually all fast playing. And whenever they're gonna call
Mm,
you, their range is gonna be weaker. So you can
mm,
exploitively, what I would do here when I see this, I would immediately start raising with the smaller size. Like I would raise 2x spot, 2x, only 2x, and because of their tendency to fast play, whenever they would be calling me, you can just like pretty surely you can just be sure that a lot of top of their range, like top pairs or pairs, just gonna be shoving over your raise. So their calling range is gonna
mm,
be more toward in the middling hands, like middle pairs, pocket pair under high card, uh, flush draw, backdoor draws. They're gonna be a lot less value in this situation.
mhm,
This is, in my opinion, this is actually kind of a big leak. If you're like, this is really really super high number. Like they are like basically uh, uh, most of the time they're just fast playing top pairs and over pairs in a situation, like even on the situation where uh, like those ace 4 7 immediately shoving ace king on the king queen 10 monotone, you're immediately shoving ace king. Ace king is kind of bluff catcher when the people raise you there, so it's not going to be good play. It's not going to be profitable play, and your calling range will suffer because now, if you are jamming these hands like Ace King, what you're calling with? What are you calling with? What is your calling range?
mhm,
So definitely something to take into account. And you see, like their call raise fold turn is pretty on the lower side, and call raise call fold is 38. So this indicates actually that they are quite stationary, so they will defend their range with these middling hands, but they will actually defend. You see, like their fold on the river actually is not going to be that much. You see, like in all of the database we have, they're going to rarely fold the top pair on the river, like 2 times you're going to fold top pair. So uh, definitely they're just gonna call it off with their like top to middle part of range, like middle pair, top pair. They're not gonna be overfolding these spots. That's the reason, because they're face playing a lot, so they are defending this weak range appropriately. But what you can do, you can go tin for value. If they're gonna call
mhm,
out this thing, you can just go tin for value and give up a lot on the rivers. Because they're not gonna overfold the river. They will overfold. They'll basically uh, mostly be falling flop, and turn is still doing okay. So on the river, only 38%. My strategy would be to attack the range with tin bets, tin for value in these situations, but give up more on the rivers. Um, Now let me see what else I want to see. Okay, I want to see a check fold stats. We have a big hotspot. Whenever they are checking river, you can bet any two cards on the river. After they bet flop and turn in the three bet pots, their checking range is shit. They are
mm,
folding 68% of range. That means we are come whatever hand we have on the river. When they checked, we can bluff whatever we have. Any hands we have, we want to bluff, because they're gonna be check folding 68%, and their check call range is gonna be, let's see, it's gonna be, you see, like only 30%. And yeah, you see, like they're gonna have these top pairs. Let's see in which, yeah, it's always gonna be some scary card like ace jack, the river is fourth of the straight. They check the river. Flush draw is busted, and they decided to check all ace king. Then we have a third of the flush getting there. Now the guy thinks ace king cannot go for value. Now they are checking it. They are not blocking in these spots, which is something we can take into the consideration. So generally, what we can see, guys, here is we have a we have just super hot spot. We're gonna just write this down because this is something really insane. Whenever they whenever they check the river, we have a profit. They will rarely gonna check raise, like you see. They're not gonna be slow playing enough. They're mostly gonna be like willing to bluff catch or not bluff catch with these top pair hands that they don't think they can go for value. So hotspot, we're gonna write it down. Check fold, three bet pots, 68%.
What about poker stars? Is this similar
On
situation?
Poker
The bet
Stars,
bet check.
it's actually less, but still a lot.
It's not that high, right?
Not that high. This is any two
Uh,
cards. Is and On Poker Stars, I think
mm,
it's 61, which like even like
mm,
3% is a lot, but 7% is super a lot. This means, Nick, this actually means whenever you have any type of draw that you call flop and turn, even it's the worst bluff possible, even if you're blocking their folding range, generally you don't want to bluff when blocking folding range, but you have to bluff because it's gonna
yeah, yeah.
it's just mathematically profitable. You don't want to think,
I didn't
okay,
I didn't play I didn't play for a few years, but this frequency I understood is crazy. Like
yeah,
68. We just
yeah, like this means that 7 out of 10 times they will be folding. There's also one cool thing to see. Like I want to see which are the spots they mostly fold on. So here we can just see their we can see a hand range because the hand is folded, but we can see on which boards it happened. You see like 68 is average. I want to see like more than 68. So 71 backdoor flush draw coming on the river, 71%. So immediately want to bluff even more. Um, Paired, top paired. That means that on the river we got paired with the top pair. That's also the spot that is usually because people when they call double barrel they will have a lot of top pairs, of course. So when the top pair becomes a trips, you're gonna always shout the trips for value on the river. So that's like the spot where it's even more folded. Um, so let's see a little more like 72. Third flush paired. Flop is rainbow, so runner flush coming, and flop is two tone and third flush coming and paired on the river. Flop monotone fourth flush is the most folded spots out of all. So when the
mm,
monotone is flop, river is the fourth flush. They are checking. You have the approval to go whatever you wanted to, like whatever. I mean, you have approval even on any type of board, but this is like even more of even the most possible. And look at this, really interesting. When the river is an ace and they are checking their folding list, so
mm,
this is not any two cards. Because people now when they're checking on the ace, they will not gonna fold that much. You see, like they're probably gonna be checking a lot of like jacks, queens, kings, ace hits. They're gonna check all of you, check all you, like more than on any other type of the situation. So I would be just seeing that this is the last spot you want to be bluffing on. So when the overcard hits the river and the overcard is an ace, you don't want to bet in position with the bluffs that much like on other spots. So okay, and any two cards, and we're gonna just write down in that the ace on the river worst spot to bluff. Okay, 58% fold. Even it's okay still, but definitely the worst out of all. Let me see their general check. We can see their general check raising. This is check raise and a bet. So 61% is they're when they check raise, they're continuing on turn 61%, and it's gonna be super value heavy. So it's gonna be 16. It's gonna be over 75% value. 70%, around 70% value. So when they check raise and they check raising 16% on the flop, if we're gonna see the flop is most raised as a bluff, it's around 35, around 32 to 35% of bluffs. They use variety of draws, combo draws, backdoor draws, ace king, king queen, uh, but mostly going to be like ace king, ace queen, ace jack as a bluff. If you want to go in which type of boards is most bluffed on, we see actually that low boards are the most bluffed boards out of all, and they use, you see like a lot of overcards basically, ace king, ace queen, ace jack, backdoor draws, and for value they go with the top pairs and over pairs, but mostly with the over pairs. So most bluff spot as a check raise is gonna be low boards, deuce through 9, 10xx boards, and jack xx boards. That's most bluff boards, and the most bluffed actually are the trips boards. So the boards like trips on the flop, like 666, 777, this type of boards are check raise as a bluff, most as a bluff. Also the paired ones, so paired 2 deuce 3, 447. So these kind of boards, and you see like again ace xx, less bluff, almost no bluffs on the ace xx and ace Broadway X region. You got check raise, guys, on the ace 4-8. You can just like overfold definitely because they're not going to be bluffing you at all. Check raise bet is going to be pretty high, and check raise bet 61. And guys, people said to me this is super under bluff, but it seems it's not, Nick. We found a spot
Mm-hmm.
where they actually having 30% of bluffs. So check raise, flop, bet turn, bet river, 30% of bluffs. And again, it's gonna be a third flush completer, third flush completer. It's most bluffed on paired boards, but we still don't see like they're bluffing on this overcard. Look at this overcard on river. So flop is check raise, turn is bet, and the river is a Broadway, and they are not bluffing. They're only bluffing 18%.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, like look at this overcard Broadway and the third flush. They are not bluffing anything. So only pure value. Pretty interesting. So it seems they are again bluffing mostly on the low, like complete brick, flush completer, paired completer, and that's basically it. Paired boards and third flush most bluffed, paired and straight completer, but they are not bluffing on this. Four of the straight is also bluffed, but they are not bluffed on. You see, like when the middle pair pairs, they're bluffing like 75% in this situation. Backdoor flush, 38, only 38%. So they're not. They're basically mostly bluffing in a situation where I wouldn't think, or like complete brick, middle paired, third flush coming. So this is like the spot they will be bluffing, but not an overcard and a clean run out. That's really like it's weird. Of course, when the ace overcard comes, it's most like less bluffed. So really something to take into the account. Really weird. Like they're bluffing the spots. I usually would say they're not that bluffed in reality. In like I didn't see that much when people post hands of GG. I didn't see that happening. Like they were people were overfolding in this situation a lot when it's like complete brick because people didn't expect they would be bluffed a lot there. So that means they're using non-equity bluffs on the rivers, unblocker bluffs. So that's something to take into account. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's enough for this. Like check raise, check bet. Let's see that if it's interesting. You get again like this is also bluffed. Like check raise, check bet is so when they check raise check, they're gonna bluff river in this situation. I also heard nobody bluff these spots, but actually people bluff it. Like check raise, check bet, especially again when it's like third flush going on. Even like people maybe can't rep it that good, but they're still bluffing it. Four straight, third flush, four straight, most bluff spots. We see a paired card also bluffing, which is something that's weird. But generally, we can see. The point is that they're bluffing these lines, check raise and bet, check raise, check and bet. Definitely they're bluffing. Bet, check raise, check fold pretty high, so that's again really profitable spot. But that's connected with this check fold on the river. So definitely when they show aggression, but check the river, you can bluff with any two cards basically, because they're going to be
Hmm.
substantially overfolding that spot. Okay, I think we can conclude with this. We see if we go into the like detailed big blind versus button and small blind versus button, we see actually that their range is, like we said, their range is just quite merged, not polar, and we see that basically because of that, you see like on the big blind you have a polar range, right, Nick? You understand your range is composite with blocker hands like ace six, ace nine off, ace 8 off, king 10 off, king jack off, ace 10 off, jack 3 suited, jack 7 suited, king 4 suited, king 6 suited, this type of hands. So you have the strong part of your range like nines plus ace king, ace queen, and strong broadways, and you have the polar version of hands like ace 9 off and like blocker hands like king 4 suited, king 6 suited. But this guys doesn't have that range. So in reality, they should be c-betting a lot less if they're using correct range, but they're not. Their range from the big blind and from the small blind is actually linear, and they play it exactly the same. You see, like they play basically the range exactly the same because the range is basically, and this is something interesting. They actually check fold in this situation. This is quite interesting. Look at this, Nick. Big blind versus button, when they check river, they fold 69%, and small blind versus
Yeah, on the
button, they
small
fold
blind,
72.
72. Okay.
Yeah, it's something really, really insane. So actually, they're because this is total from all positions, right? This is all positions together, but this is big blind and this is small blind. So definitely something really, really interesting is going on, because now you see actually they are uh, in the big blind they are really aggressive, which is counterintuitive because the big blind range should be polarized, but their range is actually merged, and you actually see here that they are bluffing around 30%, like we said. So they're actually big blind is really aggressive. They are over bluffing the flop because you see like 72% c bet. You see that over 40% is bluffs, uh, but still highly aggressive on river, 60% triple barreling. But here we can actually see that their fold to river raise is pretty high. On the big blind, on the small blind is little less, and total number is around what it should be. But generally, we can see that they don't play this stuff. They don't play these spots like it should be played. So definitely a lot of plays to exploit them. We can see even from this pop-up, we can make some serious adjustments, Nick. We can completely change our calling range, and we should be changing our calling range against their big blind three bet. Especially look at this against earlier position. Big blind versus cutoff is only 6% three bet. Like they're three
Hmm.
betting just the best hands. So you don't want to call even hand like strong as a ace queen off big blind versus cutoff is not going to bring us much money there. It's much better to four bet that hand than call against this range. Just think about how easily you can fold like hand like king nine suited, or even hand like nine ten suited, hand like eight nine suited. Like suited connectors not gonna bring us any money against this type of strategy. If you think about it, like big blind versus cutoff, calling like 4 5 suited is not gonna be like zero EV. It's gonna be a big punt because their range is linear, and our 5 6 suited is doing really shitty against most parts of the range. So you can just make serious adjustments based on their preflop strategy, and then you go into the post flop and you can see which spots they are bluffing, which spots they are not bluffing, and you can make your strategy according to that. Let's quickly go to the out of position three bet caller pop up, because now we saw what they do as a three better. Now let's see what
Hmm.
they are doing as out of position three bet caller. Immediately from what we see, Nick, we immediately see that their calling three bet ranges are a little wider than GTO, and they are under four betting immediately. So their four bet range is gonna be stronger. We see again linear tendency. So 4-bet range is going to be tens plus ace queen, and bluff is going to be mostly ace 10, ace jack suited. And you see like even now the hands like king 10, king jack, queen 10, queen jack is going lower, a lot lower. So their range is gonna be hugely tens plus ace queen, ace 10, ace jack, king queen mostly as a 4-bet bluff. So you don't see much of the ace 4, ace 5 suited type of hands. You don't see much of the jack 10 suited. You don't see much of the ace jack off. So linear 4-bet range, but doesn't have that much bluffs like king 10 suited, king 9 suited, queen jack suited, king jack suited. So mostly like the best Broadway and the best off Broadway and the best pairs. So range is definitely, you see like I'm using actually the 4-bet range cutoff versus button, and you see that's basically too strong because we should be seeing less of the ace jack, ace queen, and king queen, and more of the king 10, king jack, queen jack type of hands, because you are 4-betting with this type of hands in this position more often. So yellow color should be around this type of range, around ace 4 suited, ace 5 suited type of hands. So here is just pure linear value range. So really value heavy 4-bet range, and it seems that they are, you see like they're calling 3-bets. We see they're calling pairs, they're calling even off broadways a lot. That this shouldn't be calling a lot. It should be actually a lot of 4-betting, not that much of the calling. Suited Broadway should be as a call. Suited aces also, but you see like tendency they are calling all the suited aces, all the suited Broadway, all the pairs, and we see a lot of suited connectors in the call, which is okay, but still rake here is bigger than on the other side. Maybe you should cut down on calling on the suited connectors. Maybe you should be 4-betting more of the off Broadways, but generally their range is wider than the GTO just immediately by looking at this. And we see they are overfolding the flop out of position, so overfolding the flop, under check raising the flop. Let's see immediately their check raise, 34% as a bluff. So definitely value heavy check raise. Uh, Basically not just value heavy, it is actually equity heavy. So we have a gut shot, combo draw, and the draws as the majority of it, not turning many low pair, bottom pair in the check raise bluffs. On many boards it should be check raising as a bluff with these hands a lot. And basically value heavy range. So under check raising, overfalling to C bets, but they don't overfold rivers. So river is, they're calling it in the right frequencies. Um, from what we see, let's see, fold to c-bet is happening on which type of situation mostly. We actually see that they are defending the big bets correctly. You see, like they're just mostly overfalling to pot bet, but it is a little bit around like around 8% more than they should. To pure pot, you should fold 50, so this is like around like, so they're mostly falling around the pot, and 80% they are mostly overfolding. They are defending actually the overbets with correct frequencies. The situation they fold the most, the situation they fold the most, so the 51 is the average. Let's see, like 60. Again, fourth straight and the third flush, mostly going to be folding. Uh, on the second Broadway, when the turn brings the second Broadway, they will be folding river 52%. Third flush is 62%, so definitely we see something that's happening. And fourth flush as a monotone, and fourth flush as a runner on the turn and river are the spots that are hot spots because they folded the most out of everything. So something similar we saw in the previous pop-up. So this is the spot there where they fold river the most, and yeah, I think that's basically it. Check raise, low, equity heavy, check raise and bet turn. We can see like, look at this, like they are pretty aggressive on turn and river. So this is check raise flop and bet turn for 64, really aggressive. But you see actually they are lacking bluffs because their range is really strong. We actually see that 82% of the range is value. Their check raising a range out of position when they call three bet is super strong, a lot stronger than GTO, and they are continuing betting that range on the turn high frequently because the range is stronger. And on the river, unfortunately, I can't see that because we don't have these stats currently here. But generally, I would say that their range on the river is going to be also really strong because they just have too much of the value going on there. Okay, I think we covered this really fast. I don't see like much else we can go through. This is their, we can see like their how they're playing these checking lines, and from what I see, their check 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 fold is around normal. They are folding around 50%. That indicates they're gonna mixing top pairs, middle pairs. They're not gonna stab too much. We can see actually that they are understabbing turns, so they're only stabbing 45% turn, and we actually see that they are mostly toward into value, and we can actually see that they're not probing that much with let's say middle pairs, lower pairs, even top pairs are have a place there in double check. That's the reason why they are not overfolding to delay c bet. And you see this is check 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 call check fold. They are not overfolding river. They are only overfolding to big sizes. You see, like they are mostly folding to this size. Look at this. So, guys, I have one cool thing. If you want to bluff against them into delay lines, so when the flop goes check check, for example, and if you want to see if you want to bluff them with delay, uh, definitely you need to take into account that you need to use bigger sizings. You need to use bigger
Mm-hmm.
sizing because they super overfold to pot. You see, like pot plus they are folding 74 to 80%. They are folding 63. So you're gonna print money with going 80% plus in this situation. They're gonna check, 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 fold, turn a lot. They're going to be actually check check calling turn but folding river over 61%, but on bigger sizes it's going to be 74, 61, 62. It's going to be super profitable because it's like over 10% you're going to get more force than you should be getting actually. So that means they're not going to defend range against bigger bets in this situation appropriately. So definitely, Nick, we can see that this pool is now showing it's more passive, not aggressive. They're overfolding, but under check raising, but they are just defending the like medium to small size. They're defending it good, but when it comes to bigger size, they are just going with a lot of
Mm-hmm.
folds. So they are stationary, but mostly against smaller sizes. When you use huge size there,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna fold them out. Now we're gonna go into the imposition tree better. You ready, Nick? We did fast this pop-up
Mm-hmm.
because um, I mean it's I have to say it surprised me at first. The pop-up first pop-up we were going through out of position tributary, it surprised me how weird they play. The range was super narrow, tighter, and they were bluffing in a like for me really strange spot, low boards and no overcard on the river. That's the most bluff spot. Really, really, I didn't
Yeah.
expect that. Okay, so we now know how they play 3-bet pots out of position. Let's see how they play 3-bet pots in position. What you see, like, again, I see that they're not 3-betting a lot. They are not 3-betting a lot. Button versus cutoff only 11%. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
14%, 15% what I get used to it. That means they cut down 4% of their range. That means they didn't cut down the value part of their range. So definitely they did cut down the bluffing range of their range. So they are definitely again under three betting in position, over falling to four bet. That means you see like they are all for the over falling to four bet. So this is their calling four bet range, and definitely when you three bet 11% and you fold in position to 4 bet 46% and your range is stronger. So they are all falling compared to the GTO ranges, which is quite surprising. And that means they are folding some of the clear calls, like probably hands like Queen 10 suited, Queen Jack suited. They're not going to be calling a lot of these hands a lot. So we see here, you see like how Queen 10 is only 36 compared to Ace 10, compared to ace jack, compared to king jack. So definitely they are undercalling this queen 10 hands, queen jack 10, king 10 suited hands. Uh, but we still see that they are calling ace jack off substantially, that it's basically clear fold. So it seems they're
Mm.
just they're overvaluing some hands like ace jack off, like king queen off. They're overvaluing that hands, and actually hands like queen 10 suited, jack 10 suited, king 10 suited, they're undervalued valuating them. So definitely just to take into account, they gonna be under three betting and over folding to four bets. And when it's isolation happening, their three bet ranges not cut down as a have, but like they're pretty high cut down three bet range when the isolation is happening. So whenever they're you ISO and they three bet you, you can fold substantially more than the GTO. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
When we go to the post-flop nick, you see 77% of the c-bet. It's over c-betting, but their range is a lot more narrow than the GTO, so I think that can be okay because the range is just too strong. Over double barreling, again, their range is more narrow. They can get away with it. Triple barrel is around okay number, but we actually see that they're uh, only around 20 something percent of bluffs. Let's actually see the most triple barrel spots. What are the situation where they bluff the most? Again, Nick, overcard on the river only 25%. Overcard is the ace only 23%. So you would think like they're gonna use this ace, they're gonna use this king on the turn, they're gonna use this queen on the turn. Overcard at the Broadway 27, not bluff that much. Um, yeah, this spot is pretty weird. They're mostly like bluffing. We see third flush. Again, this is a river. So this is the low board, and the river is deuce through nine, and the third flush, and and that is the most bluff spot. Again, similar tendency to what we saw before. Something that
Yeah, low cards.
yeah,
Just people bluff on the low cards with
yeah.
all
It seems
their
like the
overcards. I don't know.
and Nick, just think about this. It's not flush. It's not a straight completer. It's just the
Yeah,
number.
it's weird. It's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah. It's weird
It's
because
like they scary to bluff on the scary
yeah,
boards, but on the drive
yeah.
on
It's like
the low boards, they just don't know what to do with the overcards, and they
yeah.
like
It's
they,
gonna be
they,
like 3 4 7 4 8 deuce 5 5 4 7. Like this is the like overcard and the third flush. That's basically it. Overcard and the third flush. Just
yeah,
a
it's really weird. I don't know
yeah.
what that like. It's
Mm,
it's
yeah.
weird.
The weird is that in exactly this spot when the third flush comes, but the river is a Broadway, it's not bluffed that much. Yeah, it's really a
They like low boards. Okay, they
yeah.
they like low boards for
And
some
look at
reason.
this,
I don't
four
know.
straight is under bluffed super a lot. Four straight and the third flush, again, really low amount of bluffs. Fourth flush, look at this. Fourth flush, only 17% of bluffs. Fourth flush. This is the spot where when the fourth flush comes, it's super hard for out of position to have a flush because out of position is lacking the off Broadway hands. You know that. Because they're not calling enough of this, they shouldn't be calling it, but they're not gonna have a flush very often compared to in position. Because in position will three bet hands like ace jack off, ace queen off, king queen off, and out of position is not gonna call these hands, and when the fourth flush comes, in position will actually have a lot of one card flushes,
Mm,
and this is the spot you should be bluffing a lot because you're gonna have a lot of value, and they are not doing that. On the fourth
mhm.
flush, you can fold everything. They're not gonna bluff you. Generally, overcard is an ace, overcard is a third flush, overcard is a Broadway. Everything in that region is not bluffed. But like we said, this is the overcard deuce to nine, so low board, deuce to nine river, basically brick river, third flush, most bluffed on, and basically that's the most bluff spot on, and the fourth flush on the monotone board. So we have it here. This actually is so. This is actually good because, like I said, you're gonna have one card flushes a lot in the range. But when in the other spot, it's not that bluffed. When the turn goes turn goes flush completer and the river is fourth flush, it's not bluffed that much. That means they're not double barreling enough bluffs and then turning triple barrel bluffs into it. So definitely it's really nice to know that, because you see some tendencies, like you see out of position and in position, that they are bluffing this situation that generally I shouldn't see. I didn't think they're bluffed that much, but you actually see in the data they're just bluffing on these situations. So definitely we need to take into account, okay, the low boards, they're gonna just be bluffing even on the non-scary card, just complete brick on the river, they're gonna bluff it. But generally, like their triple barrel range, we can see it's very heavy. We saw that these are the bluffs, like 40% of bluffs, but generally they're gonna be around 22 to 25, and we can actually see which spots are they never bluffing or rarely bluffing. So this is the spots when we are happening in it, we could be making slight overfolds. So what we're having here, Nick, I want to clear people this. Your strategy shouldn't be, okay, they're now betting in the low card, river is a brick, low card, third flush, I'm going to call my old bluff catchers. No, it doesn't work like that. Or situation, okay, the river is a Broadway, now they are betting, they are over under bluffing this spot, I'm going to fold everything. No, this is not how the exploits works. So when you have a hand that is calling sometimes, folding sometimes, you can make slightly deviation and go and fold a little bit more in this situation.
Hmm.
But you should never going to fold everything and call everything. You see,
Yeah,
when
don't
you're
just go crazy because of that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, when you're doing exploits, you need to go step by step, small steps, step by step. So whenever you have a hand and you say, okay, I have a bluff catcher, the hand is like 50-50, you're gonna fold more in this situation in the spots that are over
hmm
that are under bluffed, and in the spots that are over bluffed, you're gonna call a little more, but you're not gonna call all of your bluff catchers. This is just to show their tendencies. But you
hmm
need to exploits needs to be adjusted step by step and small steps. Okay. Let me see where I was. Okay, really nice thing is to know. Let's see. They're c betting 77%, Nick, right? 77%. And look at this. When they
hmm
check, they're falling only 38%. How is that possible? You see bet 77%, but when you check, you're not falling turn. You're not falling turn. What that means? What that means logically? What that can mean? Like if you're c betting basically 8 out of 10 times, and these 2 out of 10 times you're not betting, you're actually not falling turn. That means when you check, you have some kind of hand that can call turn, right? So let's try to see what is their checking range made of. How can they do that? That seems that they are putting a lot of bluffs into c-bet range. Maybe they have a lot of medium strong hands in their checking range. And let's see that, is that correct? So look at this, Nick. Uh, 6%, 11%, 70% of their checking range is going to be top pair or over pair. Let's see what type of top pairs they're going to check. Look at this. King Queen on the King 10 10. Ace King on the King Queen Jack. Ace 10 on the Ace 9 3. King Queen on the Queen 7 6 monotone. That's okay. King 10 on the King Deuce 6. It's a bet range. You need to bet everything. King 10 Jack. King 4. You need to bet range. You need to bet everything. Ace King 10, Ace 5, still range bet, you need to bet everything. Ace King King range bet, you need to bet everything. This guy checked Ace Jack. Nick, we see that they are checking the top pair. Let's see an over pairs they checked. It should be funny. Okay, Jack 7 7, you check queens. It's 100% bet. Aces are check on the 10 9 Jack. That's okay. Queens on the deuce Jack 10 is a range bet on that board. You need to bet everything. Tens for sure need to be bet on the 3, 6, 7 because they need a lot of protection. Aces checked on the ace 10 9. It's good. Queens on the 5, 6, 9. It's okay. Not, but it's okay. But we generally see that they are even checking all pairs in a bet range spot. They check aces on the king 3, 9, which is range bet spot. They check aces on the queen, queen 5, which is a range bet spot. So what is this saying to us, Nick? This is saying to us they are over c-betting as a bluff because their checking
hmm
range has over pairs, it has top pairs, it has middle pairs in a range bet spots. So definitely take into account that. That means what I see here, that what we need to do, we would need to do, in my opinion, we should be attacking their c-bet with check raising. They are falling 38%. Call check raise fall turn 34. Call check raise call fall 43. So they are actually defending this good. But what we need to do, we can go and attack again with thinner bets. And we need to always think, okay, if they're gonna have a checking range, then a lot of hands that are top pair, hands like a top pair, they're gonna be in their checking range. So when they bet, they're gonna leg these hands because we saw they're checking hands, top pairs and over pairs in the range bet spots. So that whenever they are like checking in these situations, you always need to think, okay, it seems that they're gonna have a lot of top pairs in that range, middle pairs, even over pairs in the spot they should be range betting. That indicates that these two ranges are not balanced. Their betting range and their checking range is not balanced because when somebody is betting 77%, their fold on the turn should be like 70%, because that's the logic. They're betting all of their good hands. But here seems they're betting a lot of bluffs and checking some medium to strong hands in the spots where they should be betting range on. So definitely something to take into account because they're highly unbalanced in this situation. You're gonna check
Mm-hmm.
top pairs, middle pairs. You're gonna check aces on queen, queen five. Why would you do that? It's a range bet spot. Why would you check aces there? So to me, it seems that their checking range is actually really strong. I mean, really strong. It's more stronger than it should be because they are betting 77% of the range. So definitely, it's looking unbalanced to me. So the question here is how we can exploit that. And I would say we can use two strategies in that situation. We can attack them with overbet on turns. We can stab as orbit because their range, checking range, is actually not checked as a polarized, that it's basically having non-value hands. It's actually going into the merge spot. So you see, like you see that they check over pair, they check top pair, they check middle pair. So that to me indicates that this type of range is best to attack with orbits out of position. What I would advise you guys is, you look at this. You see Cbet and fold. Let me see. Skip Cbet and fold. So this is when they check flop and fold turn. You see they are actually defending really good. Look at this. Every size until the pot. Look at this. Even pot is defended good because this means that they just have the hands that can easily call 80% on turn. You see, they're going to have top pairs, they're going to have middle pairs, they're going to have over pairs. But look what's happening. When you're going into the orbit region, they start to overfold. And this is the thing where you can attack them. So these are the spots where you can attack them. You need to attack them with orbits, and let's see how much they fold river in this situation. So this is when they skip, when they check the flop, and they fold turn 38%. But let's see how much they fold. So this is skip c-bet call and fold river 40%. Let's see how much they're gonna fold to big size. Look at this. You see, like now they're gonna defend super good small sizings because they have that merge range that has middle pairs to top pairs that should have been bet a lot. You see, like Nick, look at this. When you go into the pot region and especially orbit region, they are overfolding 67%, 55%. So
Mm-hmm.
you need, and just think about this. This is the spot where they didn't be attacked with the orbit on turn. So they did across all sizes. But if you would put the orbit on turn and orbit on river, I think you would fold them out on river way, way more in these situations. Just because they seem to be sticky on turns, but basically you would go and put them all in on the river. You go orbit, step, turn, and shove river, basically. So I think they would be folding really a lot. So to me, crucial thing to take from here is this: their ranges are more narrow. They are over c-betting. They are defending check raises decently because their range is more stronger than GTO. They are more narrower, but they are also checking behind stronger range. They are checking some top pairs, middle pairs in the range bet spots, and you need to attack that. If you're going to use small bets, it's not going to work. They're going to just call you off easily. But if you start to going with the over bets on the turn and on the river, you're gonna break their range, and that's it. You're just gonna break the range. You see, like the clear numbers are showing they are too merged in the spots they shouldn't be, because on many, like if you're gonna have this type of range they have, you can like bet 100% you're not gonna lose any EV on any board. Basically, even like the worst board to bet, like 5, 6, 7 with their range, like except maybe these worst boards you can bet range on everything. And the really interesting thing is, look at this, they're gonna let's see how much they are betting this, like low boards with the flush drawn board. I would say they my assumption based on what I see is they will over c bet these boards. So let's see. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is Jack XX, so this is gonna be this. Look, so they are with these lower connected boards, they are c-betting 76%. And look how much bluffs they're putting in these boards. This is something we can take. So they are over c-betting even the worst boards for their range. I mean, their range is really strong, so they can do it, but they shouldn't be betting 80% here, because you're gonna be vulnerable to check raise substantially. Like I wouldn't even call any hand when they will be betting like this. My strategy is to have only a check raise range and folding range. I would never call their bet.
But
Yep,
But you see, the thing is, okay, they see bet 76%, but
yep,
then they fold to check raise 35%,
yep,
right?
yep,
So you see on the right
yeah, yeah, yeah,
after chart.
yep.
So they don't overfold, right?
But
They
you know
they
what
they
that means? That means that they just put. You see, like look at this logic. So we saw that they're checking like 25% of our pairs on the boards that are like disconnected high card boards. We saw that they're checking aces on the queen 5. We saw that they're checking king queen on the king jack 7. We saw that they're checking ace jack on the ace king king, for example. But you see this, they are not checking kings on the 5, 6, 7 two tone. They're not checking kings. They're not checking aces there. They're not checking queens. But they are checking these hands on this type of boards. So this is completely telling us how imbalanced they are, and that they are actually don't understanding theory. Because look at this, like this kind of boards, look at this, they have actually 51% of bluffs on. Look at this, mostly bluffed board is actually the connected low board with two tone. This is the most bluffed board of the four boards, except trips one. But like these low connected boards is the most bluffed boards out of all this. Like look at this, like ace to Broadway is not bluffed at all, like 24% bluffs. Ace to Broadway's Rainbow not bluffed at all. Ace Broadway low card not bluffed at all. Ace Broadway low Rainbow not bluffed at all. Three Broadways, which is like you need to bet everything, is not bluffed. Like it's 17% of bluffs only. But this board, which is like pretty bad to play as a three better, it's pretty bad to play because like on the board like 3, 5, 7. The guy we're gonna have threes, he's gonna get fives, he's gonna have pocket sevens, he's gonna have all the sets, and in position player is not gonna have any set in the range. So this is to me
Mhm.
like I'm glad I'm going here because now we can see a pure hotspot. Most bluff boards in position three better. We're gonna write this down. This nick is big. This is huge. They bet over c betting.
I still don't get how they manage to defend versus check raises if they have
They're
so
just not gonna
overbluffed
fold.
range.
It seems they're just not gonna fold. Okay, they're not gonna fold on this
They can
situation. They're not gonna
they
fold ever
continue with
overpair.
over cards
Yeah,
or
they're
over
gonna.
cards.
We'll see how much they re-raise. That's the first thing. Because if they re-raise a lot immediately, and we saw that in the other pop-up, it's pretty possible actually that they actually will have a zero fold. So with their pairs plus region, pretty possible. But that we can take advantage with our value range. Look at this, Nick. They are re-raising.
Actually,
Look at this.
they raise pretty, yeah, 35%. So on this low connected board,
Yeah,
they against the check raise, they fold 35, call 46,
and
and
23
re-raise
re-raise.
20, 23
You
re-raise.
see?
Yeah, yeah.
You see this? So this is highly imbalanced. That means they're gonna just
Mm-hmm.
shove aces on the 3 5 6. They're gonna just jam aces. They're gonna jam kings. So they're gonna be highly imbalanced there. That's the thing. So our strategy would be changing. Look, if we know this, for example, if we know this, so we know this information, how this pull on NL200 on GG plays. So the board is 5 7 8. We're not gonna have donking range. GT is gonna have 50% donking range there. We're not gonna have donking range. We're not gonna have
Mm-hmm.
donking range
Yeah,
because imposition will see bet everything. When they see bet, our consolation of our range will be that we're gonna check raise or fold, and that's it. And we're gonna have
yeah.
hands that can easily, like when we check raise and they jam and we have a set, we're gonna be super happy. Like we immediately get it in. They have like when they have this order, we have a set. They have 6% equity, and that's it. But we're gonna put our range also like that. That we're gonna have flush draws, we're gonna have backdoor bluffs, we're gonna have gut shots, we're gonna have top pair plus draw, pair plus draw, sets, two pairs, etc. So we're gonna have all sorts of hands, and we just gonna be folding a lot of hand that would be naturally calls in this situation that we could call, like for example, like pocket pair with the gut shot. We're gonna now check raise it. Otherwise, you will maybe calling this hand. But now, when you see that their range is imbalanced, that they just bet all their over pairs, they're just not going to take a hit with the check raise. Because, look, when consolation of our range is like that we have really a lot of strong hands, we're going to have a lot of sets of comparison to our range. We're going to have over pairs, we're going to have high equity draws. We can just easily play with the check raise, they jam, we call. But a cool thing would be when we check raise and they call, we're gonna have all of our like backdoor hands and gut shots. We're just gonna pile pressure because we see they're gonna jam a lot of overpairs immediately. So when we will be facing a lot less range. So for example, look at this. The board is 5 4 7 2 tone. We check raise with the pocket tens. They call. Whatever happened, we're thrilled. We know we're gonna be jamming a lot of overpairs. So our 10 is basically nuts on the flop when they on the turn when they just called. So the thing is, we need to attack their a call of the check raise range, and we need to attack their c betting in position, and that's it. And our strategy needs to be in this situation only check raise or a fold. We don't want to have any
Mm-hmm.
calls because they are doing something that is completely un GTO. We don't want to have donk range. We don't want to have like any leads. We just want to check raise or fold, and we can actually overfold because we are over check raising. So we don't need to defend MDF when we are over check raising. So we can overfold to their c-bet and just have a check raising range. So we'll write it down in our summary, and I'll give you that till the end of the video, just to write this down. So they over c-betting in position, 74%, 77% c-bet, checking
Yeah,
range.
this these guys in GGPoker, they like to fight on the low boards for some reason. I see
Yeah,
that
and
they
and
see bet a lot, they re-raise a lot after that,
yes,
also
but
on the
that's
low board.
crazy. Like that's
So,
totally unaware of the ranges. Because look at this. On this kind of board, out of position caller of the tribet is donking a lot. But now you don't need to donk. Like they're making your strategy so
mm-hmm.
easy. Your strategy is so easy now because you have only one thing. You have only one range, and that's check raising range. And that's it. And when they call you your check raise, you can cut down from the range substantial amount of the over pairs because they will only jam it against your check raise. So what I would do, what would be smart for me to do, I would use really small check raise sizes, because if they're going to jam their over pairs, I'm going to just go with a tiny 2x check raise. They'll still play the same. And just think how we are exploiting them. A small check raise, and we put them in serious trouble. First, we have a lot of strong hands. When they jam over us, we can easily call. When they're calling, now when we do a small checkers and they call, we can substantially delete a lot of orpes for their range because they are using this high 3 bet immediately on the flop. If we saw in the previous example, they are using a lot of overpairs immediately, even aces and kings immediately jamming in. And then with the small check raise, we are attacking because with the small check raise of 2x check raise, they can't even fold any over card. Like if they're betting ace king, you need to call against 2x. Like you can fold that. If you have a backdoor draw, you just can't fold with the 2x check raise. So you bet, I don't know, the pot is, let's say, pot is like 18 big blinds or 20 big blinds, and they bet like 6, and you check raise till 12. They need to substantially continue with their majority of their range, and they will not be able to do it because firstly, they will jam a lot of their overpairs. They don't care about what the flop is, the flop structure is, and we're gonna have our range has nuts hands there. We have the nuts in the range. They don't have the nuts. On any of the low boards which is connected, we have the nuts in the range, and they don't have. So we have a lot of combination of nuts. They don't. They just have these overpairs. So we can easily make our strategy with the check raising and folding, and they can do. If we are using the small checkers, we're gonna crush them easily. So guys, whenever you're in the spots, use a small check raise and put your range that it looks like only check raising or folding, and substantially increase the check raise and attack when they call their check raise. And that's insanely good strategy. So we have two clear hotspots till now, like super clear. And we see when they skip Cbet fold river 53%, decent, decent. So when they're checking back turn, they're overfolding river. I mean 53%, not huge overfold, but definitely something that, yeah, and mostly they are folding again on the fourth straight and the fourth flush. So this is the spot they are mostly folding with. And actually, they're gonna call you. Let's see which will they call with when they check back the turn. So this is the situation where they see bet the flop and check back the turn. I want to see like their calling range, how it looks like. You see, they're gonna call off this middle portion of range. You see, like Nick, the top pair, middle pair. When they check back,
Mm-hmm.
when they did check back the turn, they're just gonna call you off on river. So I want to see which size I want to use. And Nick, we actually see here that something really insane, that they are not overfolding to an orbit in this situation. Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I mean around it, 22%. So it depends how. Yeah, I mean, it's. I would still attack with. Let me see how much they raise. So they have even some slow place in the range on the river. Let me see how much. They even have some bluffs, which is insane. But look at this. Like this is like 20% of bluffs. It's not. Look at this actually. So this is the spot where the turn goes check check, and turn. So they see bet the flop, turn goes check check, and they are now raising the river, and they are actually putting almost 30% of bluffs in this situation. I didn't expect that. So guys, I would say this. In many situations, a lot of you that were on my Discord that are playing GG, you were saying the things that actually are, like you said, this is never bluff. Like they posted many hands where I said, okay, I would call this river. They don't trap much, and they said to me, they don't raise river ever. They don't ever raise river as a bluff ever. They just don't do it. But you see, like here is 30% of bluff. This is 18% of trash, and the ace highs turn into bluff. And these are the low pocket pairs, slow pair, middle pairs turn into bluff. 30% of range turn into bluff. So that's why,
Yeah, and it's a pretty good sample. It's around
yeah,
1,000 spots.
yes,
So
yes, it's
it's
really good
pretty legit.
sample. Definitely good sample in this situation. And we actually see that they are actually doing it across, like we can take any, because it's everything is around 30%, so we just can't say okay on the this situation they are doing that, but we can just see that this portion is 30% of range. It's 30% of range, and that's why actually they are defending this decently, but still, like still they are uh, we'll see actually here. Skip Cbet and fold. Skip Cbet. Let me see. Skip Cbet and call river 37%. But still, they are mostly for, like they're only calling 22%. But they are bluff shoving a little bit even on this. Hmm. I would still attack. I would still attack. You see, like they are not calling you really light. Like they are calling mostly with top pair, middle pair, your overbets, but they are still calling it compared to everything decently, I would say. So this is not like a huge super spot to be bluffing them. Maybe we can see like on which card. Mostly on the trips, on the turn trips. Let me see here. Yeah, mostly on the turn trips they will fold the river. Turn trips and the overcard on the river. And the overcard on the river. This is the spots they will be mostly call you off on. So they will not gonna give you credit. You see, like even on the when the river is an ace, overcard, ace, overcard, Broadway, overcard. This they're gonna call you pretty light. Not on the ace, but on the any
Yeah,
other card they will call you light. I mean, it's
don't
not a
believe.
good spot to bluffing in this situation. They're in this spot they're stationed. So this is the situation where they see bet the flop, turn goes check check, and they're not overfolding river that much. And they're actually calling with a variety of medium to low equity hands. And they're not following this spot very much. But when if you want to bluff them, you need to use bigger sizes. But even like on every other situation, like look at this overcard. So the board is low and the river is an overcard, they're gonna call you 62% light. Look at this. 50% of the ace high range is calling you down here, Nick. I mean, this is really interesting. So these guys don't give credit at all in this situation. So this
Mm-hmm.
is a situation where the flop is a low board deuce through nine, and the river card, so low board and the river is overcard. So if it's like Broadway or any other type of overcard, they just gonna call it down 50% with the ace highs. You see, like river is an 8 9, they just call ace queen, they just call ace king, they just call ace 10. So in this situation, when the river is we can say like a brick, and they check back turn, they're just gonna call down ace highs in this
There
situation.
is really something about this the slow boards. The slow boards
Yeah,
just
on
drive people
low boards
crazy
they
on
bluff a
GG
lot.
poker. I
Yeah,
don't know.
they bluff a lot. They really
They
bluff.
don't believe each other. They bet
Yeah,
a lot.
da
Yeah,
yeah.
so
They over
it's
c
just
bet, they over
it,
bluff, but they don't believe nothing on it. Yeah, I don't know. But the thing is that this is the situation you should be avoid bluffing. Like, look, I just want to see like, is there a similar spot to this? Because this is the spot they will just go look at this 50 also on the trips.
it looks like ego wars on low boards
I
in
don't
GG
know. Yeah.
poker. I don't know.
Yeah, but look at this. They're basically, you know what is the problem? They are capping themselves. Look. So the board is like 3-5-5. Turn is a 5. They're not betting any more of the ace jack. Even this type of hands can double barrel on this guy. Like ace jack can easily double barrel on the deuce, deuce, seven, deuce, or like ace queen type of hand, or ace king here can easily double barrel. So they're not double barreling in this situation. But when they're checking back, whatever you do, they're not gonna fold now when the board is low. You know, I mean, look at this flop. So the board is 3-4-4. They bet, we call out of position. The turn is a check check, and the river is a 10. I can bet basically. I know you are capped to because you would be betting over pair always on the turn. So I know you're
Mm-hmm.
capped on the ace
Mm-hmm.
high. I can bet like pocket fives here. You see, I can bet pocket fives, pocket sixes, pocket sevens. I can bet whatever. I can bet pocket deuces. I can bet ace four on the river. I can bet everything. Even here, like the board is 6-8-8, the turn is an 8, you check back. You would bet every overpair. So whatever hand goes like 9, 7, any brick hand, we can bet like any basically any pair that we have, pocket pair or a six. Now we can bet everything, and they just don't give credit in this situation. Basically, whenever it's paired, they check back. They're gonna call off river. But this is like something really interesting to take, guys, because look at this. On any low board, tree board, or whenever turn is paired, and they check back, they just gonna call you off with the ace high. It's something really interesting because now I want to see actually what if we use bigger sizes? Would that change? That would be really interesting. We just have it like this. You see, there still be calling less with the bigger sizes, but I don't have these sizes for this exact spot. So we just have the frequencies. So we see that they're actually overcalling, but we also see that actually it's all always normal sizes that they're calling against. So you see, like it's always half pot, two thirds, three quarters. You see, like there is no orbits, so we don't know how they react on the orbits. But the clear intention here is that they call less with the big bets. So if you're going to bet bigger, you like smaller bets they're gonna call a lot more often. But the thing is they give credit, for example, again third flush and the paired, they're gonna call you less weak. Like third flush coming on the river is gonna be called like only 70% weak. So only 70%, 90% ace high is gonna call you there. And fourth flush is definitely going to be just called with a flush, with a strong flush. Monotone board, you're going to never be bluff catch with, I don't know, like pocket aces or kings or queens or top pair. So no top pairs. You're going to be just called with a flush. Basically, like you want to bluff on the straight completer, flush completer, and avoid bluffing in this situation when it's low card, when it's or just use bigger size for value. That's also good advice. Okay, that this was really actually interesting. So we see that uh, they kept themselves a lot in a situation where you can still double barrel. They kept themselves a lot, but they like to defend this capped range on the river, especially when the river is a brick. We also see that when the river is an overcard, they're gonna call you down lightly. So one more to go. Okay, Nick, let's go into the imposition call three bet. We see the ranges, and immediately that crossed my eye is they don't respect big blind three bet enough. They overcall big blind three bets immediately. You should be folding button versus big blind against a big blind polarized strategy. You should be folding 64 to 65%. They are folding only 57%. They're underfolding cutoff versus big blind. Also, they're underfolding to three bets, and especially early position. Like this is insane that they are calling three bet 10% of range. So this is definitely something to me super weird, because this guy is gonna call you with, look at this. They're gonna call you with pocket fours, pocket fives, pocket sixes. They're gonna never fold pocket eights to a three bet on early middle position against the big blind, where pocket eights is folding over 50% of the time. They will never gonna fold you sixes, fours. They are even calling ace jack off in this situation. They are calling you with all suited hands, all suited Broadway hands, which are also for like a hand like 9-10 suited is mostly a fold in this situation, like always a fold basically. Like folding, calling only 20%, and they're just over calling 9-10, Jack 9, Queen 10. Like Queen 10, Jack 10, 9-10 is mostly a fold when big blind 3 bets earlier middle position, and they're calling it most of the time. They're also calling hands like Ace 7 suited, Ace 8 suited, Ace 6 suited, which is clear fold. Even Ace 2 suiting is calling a lot more, like it's pure fold in these positions. So they are calling wrong ranges. Like Ace Queen off is basically a pure fold there. They are highly calling it. So really strange, really really strange. So definitely they are not aware of the big blind polarized range. So what you need to do, guys, you need to cut down the bluffs. So now would be smart to cut down bluffs on the big blind, because they are all falling. They are all calling three bets. So cut down the bluffs substantially on a big blind. That would be a really smart thing to do. Um, okay, so that's for their calling range. You see, like button versus small blind is normal. Cutoff versus small blind is around normal. Early position is little more than it should be, but definitely something more that is normal. And forward range is around normal. Let's say it's around 10%, falling to 5 bets 30%. In you see that in the earlier position it's only 18%, so it's much more. Forward range is much stronger. Okay, we have a first adjustment. I'm going to write it down. So big blind, 3 bet, cut down the bluffs. They are over calling. Okay, Nick. Let's see a postflop. Postflop in position, they're over folding to a C bet 36%. We can see which boards they're mostly over folding. From what I see, guys, they are overfolding to big sizes substantially. So it
Mm.
should be smart. You see, like they're defending one third GTO-ish. One third and 25% they are defending right. So they're not overfolding here. They are not even overfolding to 60%, but they are starting to overfold to like 80% plus. And even 60 to 79. So definitely, I think you should be bluffing more with the big sizes immediately on the flop. Let's see which type of boards they overfold most on. So their usual fold is 36. We want to search something that is folded more. Three Broadways Rainbow, three Broadways, so standard stuff like two Broadway, Ace X, Ace X, Ace Broadway X, three Broadways, two Broadways. This is the overfolded ones. Ace X Rainbow, around it's around okay frequencies. King XX little more overfolded than it should be, but decent. And let's see. Basically, everything else is Jack XX is even lower, Queen XX lower, Jack XX lower, 10 XX lower, rainbow boards little more like low rainbow boards are a little more overfolded, but basically they are not that much overfolding on like only on the Ace XX, Ace Broadway X and the two Broadways and three Broadways. This is like little more than it should be. Everything else is doing okay. So definitely we should be just on especially lower boards. I would maybe go into the pot lower board strategy. Usually on the lower boards you want to go like 75%, but against them I think it would be good idea to be going potting the lower boards, lower paired boards. Instead of 50, maybe going to 75 region is gonna be okay. Uh, they don't overfold turn and river. That's something to take into account. Let's say the call triple barrel range. So their call of the triple barrel looks like this. We see that they are actually doing decent amount of calling with middling pairs, middling to lower pairs. We see around 30% you're going to be called down with middle pair and less. Uh, we're going to see actually, I want to see fold to triple barrel on which type of situation is mostly going on. If we can spot it, it's 43, 50 here. So on the ace overcard or the Broadway overcard on the river, they're gonna fold 47s, which is little higher than their normal fold. And on the fourth flush. So this is the only spots basically that they're gonna be, and actually this is the and third flush on the paired low paired boards, but it's not substantially higher. So only thing which is really higher is a overcard as an ace. So river overcard ace is something that I didn't expect basically what we saw till now, but it is overfolded and the overcard ace and the third flush coming. So this is the spot where they are folding 50% of the range. Um, and let me see their calling of the triple barrels. I want to see just like where it's happening the most. It's happening 48%. Maybe to see if we have some spots. 59. You see, like on this lower boards, when the river is a brick and the third flush, they're gonna call you off. They're not gonna fall. Like they're calling on 48, but on these lower boards, these lower boards. They're not getting. They're just not they're not gonna let them go actually. That's something that's happening quite substantially. They're like even when the third flush, like you see like low board and the river is a brick deuce through nine, and they're just overcalling it. But that has sense, Nick, because that's the spots that are actually over bluffed in this pool.
Yeah.
So insanely that this is something that I think people need to see this, because now in this situation they are actually overcalling these situations. Pool is overcalling this situation, and they are over bluffing this situation, and they're not giving credit in these situations. Third flush and fourth to or five to a straight, it's mostly folded on. But yeah, pretty sick. Okay, now when we saw this, we see that their ranges here we can take that their ranges are quite wider. They are not folding that much. Overfold the flop, but they are not overfolding turn and river. Raising position is 9.9%. They have bluffs in raising. You see, like raising is 9.9. They have bluffs in raising. They actually have almost 40% bluffs in raising, Nick. Something that maybe not expected. They raise in position 40% as a bluff. Really interesting. I mean, let's see on which boards they're doing it the most. Look at this paired boards, highest amount of bluffs on the paired board. So 10-10 through ace ace. So that's 10-10 6. Jack Jack 7. They raise mostly as a bluff. And also deuce deuce 9-9 paired. So paired boards mostly raise as a bluff. Ace XX again least raised as a bluff. Three broadways also rarely raised as a bluff. Two broadways plus low cards which is connected has 36%, so that's around normal. Let's see, queen xx 40% as a bluff, queen xx rainbow, queen xx double tone, 10xx 41%, and trips boards. So we can take from here paired boards low, paired boards high, and trips board are the most bluffed one, and together with the queen xx. Queen XX has sense to be bluffed on a lot because you're gonna raise in position king queen and ace queen as for value. So to me it has sense. But this is quite nicely to know that these paired boards are really bluffed one, and they are actually continuing over 60% on turns. So that means they're not gonna be shy. They're gonna continue. Let's see
Yeah, and
actually.
actually, this I want to add that these bluffing frequencies, they can, in reality, they can be even higher because we are looking at flop raise, right? And in this chart, we only see the hands that reach showdown, and the strong hands reach showdown much more often. So if we in the flop range, if we already see 45% bluffs, in reality, it can be even more
51,
because
Nick. Even
some of the
51.
bluffs just
Even 51.
yeah, I think in reality it can be even more because some of the bluffs just don't reach showdown. So
Yeah.
it's very bluffy range.
Yes, but we also want to see, like, look at this, like raise flop and bet. Raise flop and bet, they are just continuing a lot on turns. You see, like they're not giving up that much. Actually, you see, like they're gonna be continuing still. Even trashy hands, they're gonna be continuing betting, and this is mostly happening on these boards that we saw that we were talking about. They're still continuing barreling on these like low paired boards and high paired boards. I mean now it's like over 40% on turn. That's not, and Queen XX boards also. So this is like now something serious to take into account. I want to see a trips board
Hmm.
also. Look at the trips board, Nick. Look at this 60% range weak on this. And this means when the turn is pairing the top pair or the middle pair, they're also continuing 61% weak. Like, did we need to write this down? I mean, I have to say now, GG pool is definitely something different than other pools. I have to say that because
Mm.
I did pool analysis on three different pools, and I did highly detailed analysis, and this is completely different. So, with knowledge of this and playing on GG, I would be doing a lot of things differently. Fold versus delay, that means their checking back range is going to be stronger, and we're going to check that up. So checking behind 59%. So bet versus miss c bet really low, only 41, and check behind it has to be stronger based on the fold versus delay. So their check behind range is going to be stronger for sure. So let's see. Check behind range. Yeah, you see, like they're going to have top pairs. They're going to have. So this is Nick when the flop goes check check. This guy is going to have a lot of top pairs in checking back. This is king jack on the king 5-9, king queen on the queen 8-10. Queen Jack on the Jack 6-3, Ace 5 on the Ace Queen 4, which is actually
Hmm.
okay, but Jack 10 on the Jack 8-4, Ace queen on the queen 7-6, king queen on the king deuce 6. So these guys have decent checking back range, and that's the reason why they are not folding to this delay c-bet. They are not folding, but if you want to fold them, remember you need to use bigger sizes. So if you want, I will tell you one strategy tip. Uh, Whenever you are out of position as a three better and you you check flop out of position and the flop goes check check. In position has kept himself, and out of position can still have strong hands. And then you can do a polarized delay c bet. That means you go with an or bet on the turn as out of position three better. I'll give you an example. We are small blind versus button, we three bet. The button calls. The flop goes deuce 5-7 to tone, or 3-5-8, or 4-6-8, 4-6-9, 5-7-8. On all of these boards, you're going to have low c-bet frequency. On many of the boards, like 4-5-6, for example, like 3-7-8, it's going to be around 20 to 30%, and many of them we're going to play a check range. Just think about complete check range. And what happens when in position check backs, and we see this guy is going to have in the check back range top pairs, they're going to have a lot of middle pairs. But the thing is, they are still capped. They have a top pair, but they are still capped because we can have an over pair on a set because on many boards we'll be checking range. And you see, like they're not checking sets a lot, or super rarely they're going to check a set, and probably the mostly the fish will check behind set. So reg will hardly check behind set, so they're going to be kept in their checking back range, and still we can be uncapped. And whenever that's the case, I advise you to use delay c bet as an or bet. And look at this, they're folding. Look at this, to 120% plus 74%, and you need to use mostly 125 or 150. So you will be able to fold them out of the really strong range that we saw that has a lot of top pair, middle pair hands, and use this as a delay c bet. Use the big delay c bet, big delay c bet, and be thinking just on which boards you can have a lot of strong hands on that you check flop out of position. So we have a nice. I'm gonna write this also down. Really nice. Even now we have like few insanely good tips. I think, Nick, we can conclude this with that. They are also raising you rarely, which has sense in this situation. And when they call, they fold river. Look at this. To small sizes they don't fold, but to actually big size they fold. And look at this again against the shove on the river or
Mm-hmm.
overbet, they're gonna fold 73% and continue rivers. And then we're gonna plus. They fold 73 plus continue rivers. And with this, Nick, we have concluded the 3-bet pots for GG Network. So we
Yeah.
have concluded the 3-bet pots. We can maybe now go into the deep pots and make conclusion of this like part of their range. Deep pots are the spots where they're playing 150 blinds effective plus. Immediately we see that their 3-bet ranges are little narrower. So pretty close to what it was, but they are attributing little less, and they fall to four bets little more. They also call three bets approximately the same range, but they are four betting little less. So except 16%, it's now around 13%, and in position it was around 10%. Now it's gonna be around like 6 to through 8.8 percent. Uh, Pretty similar ranges, so nothing we can take, but just to keep in mind, a little more tighter, a little more under four betting, and not, then we can see how they play post flop. Here we have how they play as a three bet raiser or as a three bet caller. We're gonna first go as a three bet raiser. Nick, you see immediately they are still betting the same amount. Even we are deep, they are still betting in position 78%. Do you want to see,
Mm-hmm.
Nick, the low boards? What is going on? We are now 150 deep at least. They should be checking a lot on the lower boards, and You know what's happening, Nick? They're actually betting 75% again.
Mm.
75%. You see a lot of ace king, a lot of trash, a lot of four pairs betting. Even the board is deuce through nine, two tone. They don't have sets. Deuce through nine rainbow. They also bet range on it. 88%. 80% on trips board. They're actually 88%. Super bluffing a lot. And this is trips board. It can be lower trips, higher trips, no matter what, they're betting 88% of the time. I'm just going to go back to see. Again, we have a clear tendency here that we want to check raise them highly on these lower connected boards because out of position here has nuts advantage. You want to play for stacks. And Nick, look at this. They are re-raising 15% now, not 23%.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
suddenly now they are not gonna be like the board is 5, 7, 8 two tone. You check raise them. They will be thinking, okay, now my ace is not that great getting in it immediately. So definitely, it's still significant three bet on the flop on these low boards, but we are still seeing the big deviation. They are betting range. They are not respecting the range of out of position on that type of boards. They are basically over betting any possible boards, and they are actually mostly under betting the ace plus two broadways, which is the pure bet range, ace Broadway, which is a pure bet range, three broadways, which is a pure bet range, three broadways rainbow, which is a pure bet range. There they have check range, but on the low boards they should be having a lot of checking range. They're just betting range on. So they seems that even they are deeper, nothing basically changes because they're still betting 75% of the range, not folding that much of a check raise. So again, I think we want to punish them immediately. I want to see their checking back range. You see again, they're checking this top pair region, a lot of middle pairs. And again, we want to see in which type of boards they're checking back. And we see again, Nick, they're checking on the ace Broadway, rainbow. They are checking. Look at this, like ace Broadway, rainbow, the board, ace Broadway rainbow, the board that is basically bet range on. They're checking 24% of top pairs there. So they're gonna check ace five on the ace king jack, ace nine on the ace king jack, ace king queen bet range. They check back ace five, or for example, ace 10 jack. They check behind ace queen, stuff like that. So again, we see a tendency that they are protecting the range that shouldn't be ever protected because you're betting range on. And again, we see a tendency that they still have this lower fall to turn after they check, because which is like intuitively, if they are checking back some top pairs, over pairs, middle pairs, they're not going to have much falls on the turn. So again, Nick, the same thing is happening, but still here we have the from the 51 to 56, they're skip cbet and fold river. So when they check back the turn, they're folding now more. They're folding 56%. So now we're starting to have a profitable bluff. And look at this, Nick. When you're using 80% bluffs,
Mm-hmm.
even 60% plus, you have a profitable bet. Basically, any two cards you have when they check back the turn, if you're using bigger size, you have that. We can write this down. This is the huge. Um,
Yeah, in deep stacks, the overbets become even more scarier, so they
just
they
think about
defend
when
even
you
worse.
when you start to shoving there, and they're gonna cap
Mm-hmm.
themselves with checking back turn, and you start to shove like 3x spot on the river. That's gonna be fold like 88%, except this 79. But like you can even rep with the pot more. So whenever they're falling to pot 68%, like, and then you need to work 50%, you have a clear hotspot of 18% plus, or 12% here is going to be like 14 to 15% with the 80% plus size. And here you have super profitable spot because now you have like over 20% overfolding getting with this spot. So we can have
Mm-hmm.
finally clear, uh, really huge, and I'm going to write it out in our summary.
Yeah,
Perfect.
for me, it looks like people getting more cautious logically because a lot of money on the line, but they still see betting a lot. They
Yeah.
they see bet pretty much the same frequencies, but they
Betting
do
range.
respect but they do respect raises and overbets more than with the standard stacks, right?
But the thing
But
is that I don't understand how can they still be betting these low connected boards with 75% frequency. So this is the situation, Nick, when the board is like 5, 7, 9, 3, 6, 7, two tone. They are betting. You see how much they're betting 30% trash, 20% ace king, ace queen, ace jack. Like you saw how much how wide they're in their c bets. Like if you're
Mhm.
seeing that, you can just exploit them heavily with check raising. And what's happening now is when you're deeper, now you don't need to go with a tiny check raise. Or you can go tiny check raise or bet turn to get the stacks in on the river, geometrically on the river, to have the pot shove on the river. But the thing is that their range is so full of air that in any situation, and you see they're still having this 15% three bet to raise, they just can't handle the heat in this situation. So something to me,
Mhm.
it's this is insane. So we have the clear hotspot here. Like this is super clear hotspot. We understand now their checking back range is stronger than on the situation they shouldn't be strong at all, and they're all exhibiting in a spot they should be really careful on, because you said a lot of money is in the line, so you can put them, and you have the nuts, right? Though the position has all the sets, it can put them in such a shitty spot with the check raise that I don't know how can they defend this range of pure air that is going on. And so guys, when you see them checking back King XX, you saw that there is not a lot of air there. So they're having a lot of middle pairs, top pairs, but not a lot of air. So that means that in the situation where they should be betting high frequency, they're starting to have checks that are shouldn't be there, but the bluffs are still in there. So what are they saying to us? That's saying to us that on many situations on the boards like King XX, Ace Broadway X, two Broadway or three Broadways, their betting range is going to be much more air heavy, because now they are losing these top pair hands and middle pair hands that are usually betting these kind of boards. We are losing them into betting because they're in the check node and they shouldn't be ever in the check node. So that means we should attack their bet flops. So their c bet on the flop we should be attacking on these high frequency c bet boards. They're going to be more air than should be. Let's go back into it. We saw their checking back range. We can see now they're checking behind turn range. I think it's cool to see, just to see how much now top pair is going to be. You still they're going to have decent amount of top pairs, middle pair hands. So that means again their double barrel should be more air heavy, and we see that actually 20% is pure air, weak draws, low pairs into bluff over 30%. Um, but this is also crucial to me. We need to, when they're checking back turn, even they have this top pair we saw and middle pair, they're still not defending them properly against bigger sizes. They're all falling to any possible size in this situation, but they're most all falling to actually 60 to 79%, because they're all falling 61%, basically the same frequency as they are falling to pot bet. And to pot bet plus, they're falling 68%, and to 100 plus, they're falling 79%. So whenever you're in a spot, you have a good blockers, go to 120 plus. Easy as that. And if you're not gonna rep that much, then go into the region of 60 to 79. There you can go wrong. You will make them all fold over 20% of range they should be defending. So definitely clear hotspot, guys. Clear hotspot. See that fall to check raise 42%, Nick, more than it should be. They are over falling to check raise. Um, they are over falling to check raise on the flop turn and the river in position deep. So it did this change it from the in position three better. Now they are folding more money on the line. They are
Mhm.
seems to respecting now. They are now respecting it more. So definitely we see their checking ranges are still stronger than average. They check back flop stronger, they check back turn stronger, but they are not defending that stronger range enough on the river. And we should be attacking that with our bets, but also with 60%, which is working super good because you're gonna have really nicely overfold over 20% there. Okay, so that's all for
Mhm.
their imposition. Nick, do you think this is like I think this is like really huge. When you're 150 blinds, you see like how can you deviate? You can attack them with check raising on these lower boards where we see that they are full of air. You can attack their betting range on the King XX boards, Ace Rainbow X, two Broadway, three Broadways. We saw that they are checking back some stuff they shouldn't be ever checking back because it's range bet spots. So definitely a lot of room to make an exploit here in deep pop-up. Really nice thing to know that. Okay, so definitely the print money is, I think, attacking their. For me, it's the best hotspot. Attack the low boards, especially low board two tone. Attack them with check raise heavily. This is the spot that they are making the biggest mistake on. Okay, let's go now in the 3-bet pot out of position. So this is when they're out of position. Immediately, Nick, they are still c-betting 72%. That's too
Yeah.
much, insanely much. And what is really interesting, they are not using the small sizes enough in the deep spots. In deep pots, you're going to use a lot of these 1/4 bets, even 20% bets, and they're never using 20% basically. So they did not go study deep spots because we don't see 2.8% of small bets and like 20% bets, and you're gonna have a lot of them on ace xx, ace broadway x, 2 broadway x, king xx, a lot of even like queen xx two tone, a lot of 20% going on. They are not using it. They didn't study this into GTO. Definitely something significant here, and we also see that they're not using the bigger bets at all, like 80% plus they're not using ever, 60% through 79% rarely used, so they don't use the big the big sizing strategy at all.
Yeah,
Something.
look at the low boards. They're re-raising 20+% again. You see,
Look at this,
they
look at
they
this, they're c-betting deuce through 9 double tone connected board 67%. Nick. So that means the flop is
mm,
4 6 8 two tone. They should be checking range or close to the range, and they are betting 70
yeah,
67%.
when they face the raise, they re-raising like 20-22%. You
That
see?
indicates that they're gonna re-raise the overpairs and stack even deep. They just
Yeah.
don't know how to play these spots. You know what is also interesting? You know why you can go be betting that much? Listen to this. The board is like 4 6 8 two tone, and we are deep. Just think about how many turn can give in position nuts that we can rarely have. So if the flop is like 4 6 8 to tone, turn can be 5, turn can be 7. Like all of these gut shots hitting are hitting in position range heavily and like crushing our range because now our overpair region is nothing. We can't play for stacks anymore. So what GTA does in this situation, it lowers the c-bet frequency and sizing of bets because now many turn is just crushing our ranges and giving in position nuts advantage on us. So
Mhm.
here's clearly these guys didn't study deep spots. They don't understand how the range hits certain boards because if they do, they would be betting like 30% here, not 67, maybe even less than 30%, because here can be really nasty boards like 5 6 7, like 6 7 9, like 5 7 8, like all of these kind of boards two tone. This is two tone boards are crazy hard to play as out of position, especially when it's so much money in the pot and you can just like they were gonna have straights and you're gonna have an overpair and you just can't do nothing against their range. Like so they just don't do that. They even go with the three bet with the overpairs. So again their calling range is
Mm,
gonna be weaker. You can do whatever you want basically. You can raise them a lot. You can raise them with small size, continuing a lot of turns and rivers and taking the call range of the calling range after they call a raise. Because if they are re-raising immediately with overpairs, when they call, they're not gonna have these overpairs, right? So they're gonna be around top pair, middle pair, backdoor draw, flush draw, but they're gonna fast play a lot. So you need to attack these spots like crazy. Um, this is also like monotone boards, 62% bet. Pretty insane. Yeah, you can bet. you can bet 20% and 10% on monotone boards that have higher cbet frequency, but these guys are not using 10 and 20. So this cbet was at least one third, and that's completely out of the GTO world. So definitely really bad strategy, especially because in position deeper, in position player is going to have a lot of flushes because he's going to call a lot of suited connector hands. He's going to call a lot of Broadway suited hands, a lot of King 6 suited hands, King 8 suited, Jack 9 suited. So a lot of hands that out of position is not 3 betting, in position is. He's going to make a lot of flushes. You don't get to be that aggressive on monotone board, basically. And if you are betting, you're betting with smaller sizes that they are not doing. So definitely they are not, they didn't study this spot at all, and they're playing really, really exploitively. Okay, what else we can see? Even like this Queen XX double tone, Nick, it's 75% bet. In the GTO world, you're gonna be checking super a lot on these kind of boards. Like Queen XX is hitting in position quite hard. So you like on queen 4 6, for example, small blind versus like big blind versus button on queen 4 8 double tone, you're gonna have 30% cbet. And like on many like queen 7 5, queen 7 6, you're gonna be around 40. So they are over cbeting queen xx heavily. They are over cbeting low boards and low connected boards super a lot. So we need to write this down. We should be attacking them with raising in position. That's the biggest weapon we need to do. And also we see that they're also folding. They are folding to check raise a lot, so we can immediately exploit them there. Okay. uh, what we need to say more? So out of position we see still pretty high 72. Triple barrel 53. Let's go to the triple barrel just to see how much they're bluffing with the triple barrel deep. Guys, we still see 30% bluffs, even deep out of position. Let's see now their delay cbet. You see, like they're cbeting 72%, delay cbeting 49. Their delay cbet is bluffy. We see that it's bluffy because they still have this some top pairs and over pairs, but mostly it's gonna be around middle and bluffing region. You see, like got ace highs, trash, king, queen type of hands. It's gonna be around almost 30% of range. Delay and bet river 55. Let's see how much they are bluffing river in that situation. Yeah, they're bluffing. Again, you see like around 30% is bluffing. So, guys, when Nick, when people are saying GG don't bluff, we can say it's not correct, right? People are
Yeah.
bluffing many lines there, even triple barrel, check raise, bet, bet. If you remember, out of position three better, check raise, bet, bet, pretty high, pretty high. 30% on river in the line where I don't think a lot of people would expect that many bluffs. Definitely, they are bluffing. They are definitely bluffing. So we need to know which spots they are doing it and which spots we need to attack, but they are bluffing many lines, even like this delay line, bet river. They're definitely using bluffs. I want to see also. We have a huge thing here. We see their check folding on the river again. If you remember, Nick, it was 71 in the out of position three better. Their check fold. So after they bet flop and bet turn, they are folding 71. Before now they're folding deep 69.
Hmm.
It's a huge spot. It's huge hotspot now because now let's see. I want to see just which size we can use. Check fold river 69 bet sizings. You see, guys, you can use 60% plus and make them fold 80% to an overbet, 80% to pot bet, 72% to 80% bet. So you can do whatever you want, but when you're in the river spot, deep, and they uh, check the river after they bet flop and turn, you have profitable any two card. Whatever draw you have, busted draw, bad blockers, you're just gonna bluff. You want to use at least 60% plus. Whatever you want to rep. If you want to rep some top pair, go 60. If you want to rep more polar, go into the or bet or pot size bet, whatever. But definitely super high profitable spot. They're not gonna check raise you enough. Actually, Nick, look at this. No check raise bluff on the river.
Mm.
Zero bluffs on the river. Check raise turn. Like we said, if you remember, check raise turn out of position as a three bet rarely bluff. Only 11% bluff. Only value on the turn. So their check raise on the turn as three better is 90% value. 90% value, only 11% is weak, and that weak is draw, if you see. So everything else is top pair or per region plus. I mean, this is something really, really valuable. A check raise flop is 12, and we see on the check raise flop we actually see that there is a 30% of bluffs. We even see ace king, ace queen, ace jack, trash, king queen, ace high, draws, lower pairs. We
Mm.
see we see here 37. Green means like ace high. Blue is a draw. So we see like here on the flop a lot of ace high is check raising, but on the turn you don't see any ace high. You only see a draw or a top pair plus region. And on the river, when you check raise deep on the river, in a GG network, and when you're 150 blinds effective, all you can expect is value. There will no
Mhm.
be bluffs, no bluffs at all. Okay, we can conclude that for a 3-bet razor in the deep pots. Here, super valuable. We have a lot of insights. Here we see that they are making huge mistakes that we can take advantage of. Let's see how they play 3-bet as a caller. Immediately we see that 3-bet caller is in position. Nick, they don't overfold the river. They overfold in position caller was 51, right? Now it's 47. They don't overfold the river. Actually, I want to see like on which boards they are mostly folding. Okay, Ace Broadway X, Ace to Broadways, Ace Broadway Low, Ace Broadway Low Rainbow, three Broadways, two Broadways. Everything is overfolded by a bunch. Um, Trips boards are overfolded. Monotone boards are overfolded a little bit. Uh, Everything and King XX are overfolded, and anything else is around what it should be. Straight boards, paired boards, everything is okay. Let's see call bet on river. I want to see generally how much they bluff catch. And we see guys that they are actually kind of not afraid to call deep in 3-bet pots. I want to see just sizes against which they will overfold. And Nick, they are even calling 120%. They are defending good deep,
Mhm.
even the big bets.
Yeah, so people don't respect the bets. They don't only respect the
But
raises,
this is deep.
and
But this is deep, and they are
but
calling.
as we saw in the three bet raiser, they still
Yeah,
see bet a lot, right? They still see bet with the same frequencies. So
yeah, yeah,
at the same time, they don't afraid to call with the same frequencies.
yeah. But the thing is, like, this pool is a lot more stationary. Like, look at this. Like, top pair is not amazing hand when you're face triple barrel shove. Like, this guy has ace jack on the 368 ace 368 ace king. This guy has a king jack on the jack deuce 666. It's like pure bluff catcher. It's the pot will be 400 blinds. So this is 200 blinds deep. Queen 10, ace jack, like this is all triple barrel calls. Like ace, okay,
Mhm.
ace king is clean, but like you're expecting like ace queen without the blocker on the 3 5 10 king ace, ace jack here, like ace king, okay, ace king is. But I mean it's still like only a top pair like king 7 9 3 6 king 10, king 10 blocking a lot of bluffs, like they're just gonna call off. Like if you see like look at this like king queen on the king 3 4 turn is a 3 and the river is a jack, third flush and overbet shove call with the king queen. I see like they're really stationary deep.
Mhm.
It seems like they're not respecting much
Mhm.
in these situations. Okay, let's see their check behind range. Let's see the strength of their check behind range. Okay, their check behind range is not that great. Bet versus missy bet is only 40% again. Let's see how much. Okay, they have variety of bluffs there. The sizes that they are using going to be mostly one third size. One third to half is mostly used, mostly one third, and mostly they stab weak on three broadways, three broadways, two broadways, king XX, like that's all over 50% weak. Okay, Ace Broadway is 40-40. Okay, over 50 is like weekends. I think we can. So two Broadways, three Broadways, two Broadways, and Queen XX, 10XX, and low boards. They are betting versus Miss Cbet that are a lot weaker than it should be. Their check back ranges are not that strong, not that strong, and they are weakest on pair boards. Like they are, so it seems like all value they have when the board is paired, they're gonna always step. So their check behind range is weakest on the straight rainbow boards, paired boards, pair low boards, pair high boards, two Broadway and low card, Jack XX super low, 10XX especially low, and the low boards. So on the low boards two tone, Queen XX, Jack XX, really bad checking ranges in position deep. So that means Nick, they're just not slow playing. They're much of the top pairs region in this kind of spots. So on the Jack XX, they will frequently bet like Jack 10, Queen Jack, Queen 10. On the 10 XX, they will definitely bet a lot of even under pairs, a lot of weak pairs. They're not checking back really strong. So in that type of boards, you can attack them when they are checking back, especially like these low boards. So just think about when you're three betting out of position, you're going to be checking a lot of low boards. If you're playing the correct strategy, you're going to be checking a lot of low connected boards. You're going to be betting maybe 20%, 30%, maybe play a check range. And then suddenly when they check back, their range is going to be breaking. So you will have profitable delay bet, and you want to see like which sizes they are going to be folding generally a lot on the bigger sizes. So definitely we need to attack their. We see their check behind range is pretty bad on these boards. We need to attack them with delay c bets. We want to use, like I said to you, this big bet strategy as a delay c bet, because when we're out of position checking these boards, low boards, low connected boards, some Queen XX boards, we're gonna be uncapped. We're gonna have much strong hands, so we can effectively use this strategy. Pretty cool stuff, Nick. This is really cool. Checking behind range, pretty weak. We saw which boards they are weak. Check behind turn range, let's see. Pretty weak. Only 3% of overpairs, 18% of top pairs. Everything else gonna be middling pairs, ace high, showdownable hands, and yeah, definitely something call check check fold. Also hotspot, hold check check fold. So that means to see strength of their turn range. Look at this, against a big bet on the river, they're done.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty crazy stuff. I need to write this down. So uh, when you're playing deep and they are checking back flop, you can attack them heavily, especially on the boards we said. But when they are checking back turn, you can attack them heavily on river, because on the river they will be falling to big bet, 74% plus to pot bet, 120 plus 80%, printing money. So that means their range is not balanced enough and they are not going to be able to defend it. We're going to write this down as our final summary. Okay, Nick, we have that. We write that up also. Um, Now we're just going to go as tribet caller out of position. So again, we see here we see actually folding river 53%, Nick. So I'm just gonna put it like this to see it more. Check raising 11%. So check raise dropped from 12 to 11. This is under check raising, of course. They are not gonna check raise enough on these lower boards. Also, on ace xx, definitely under check raising. You see, like it's super hard to defend Nick two Broadway and three Broadway and ace Broadway X boards. because you're gonna overfold to a c bet. So just think about the board like king queen seven. Like you're gonna have many like deuces, threes, fours, fives, eights, nines. All of these hands to a c bet, they're gonna be mostly folding. So that means you need to have increased check raising frequency of your range because you're already overfolding a lot of your range, like under pairs. Like if the board is like king, queen, jack, you're gonna fold deuces through nines region immediately. That means you need to have a higher check raise frequency, and they're not going to have that. So immediately you see that on the boards they should be having a lot of check raise frequency. They're not going to have. That means they're not going to know how to play these spots. So three broadways, really low check raising frequency, and no bluffs. Three broadways rainbow, no bluffs. Two broadways, only 11%. Two broadways low rainbow, 7.3%. That means they don't know how to play these spots. They have to have in this situation you're gonna check raise on the like on the flop like king queen seven. You're gonna check raise sometimes queen jack. You're gonna check raise sometimes queen ten. You're gonna put some king jack there into the check raising line. You're gonna have like some of the ajax suited, ace ten suited, ace queen something. You're gonna turn a lot of middle pairs into bluffs also because otherwise you cannot reach the MDF because the board is such a bad for your range. You need to increase check raising frequency because you're overfolding. And here it's obvious they're not doing that. So they're gonna overcall on these kind of boards, and that's the perfect for the strategy you want to use. This is like really nice to know because they are not playing these spots correctly, and we immediately can know their strategy that you're not gonna be check raised near enough. They're gonna not turn top pairs into check raises. They're not gonna turn a lot of middle pairs into check raises. They're gonna turn the like, and sometimes you're gonna turn like pocket sixes on that type of board. Like board is jack, jack, queen, five. You're gonna sometimes check raise pocket tens. They're not doing that, so they're not turning these pairs into bluffs, and that means their strategy is real bad because on the boards they need to have higher check raising frequency. They're having super low. So really something that indicates that they don't know how to play deep pots, and they make super huge amount of mistakes. And we see Nick turn and river check raise is basically nuts, lacking bluffs. So when they check raise you on turn, only 10%. You see like there's no bluffs on turn. It's only a draw. It's only a draw basically, or a combo draw. But there's no like turning a blocker bluff or bottom pair into bluff or stuff like that. And check
Mm-hmm.
raise river is nuts. Only 8% weak. So definitely like if you know these informations, you can do wonders against them. You can like make such a high EV adjustments in which spots you need to overfold, which spots can you can attack them on deep. I think these informations are really nice to know because they are making some, especially as out of position player where you need to have big check raising frequency. They are not using it on correct boards. They're only having 11% and they don't use it on Broadway boards like they should be using it. So to me, this is like really good hotspot you can use against them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Nick, for me, uh, that we can conclude with it. What do you think generally? You see, like in deep pods, they're making much more mistakes than we should. That I should think of.
More money in the pot, people do more
Yeah,
mistakes.
but you know what? I don't think that's just money in question. I think they don't understand the basic strategy. You see, like if we saw that they are not check raising a king, double Broadway, triple Broadway boards, they're only check raising 6 through 9%. If you remember that I showed you,
Mm-hmm.
that means that they are not understanding that they are all folding to c bet on that boards out of position.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because if they are understanding that they are overfolding, they would know they need to make up for this overfold on the flop. You see, like you're gonna be needed to overfold because your range is such a trouble. But to be able to compensate on that overfolding, you need to increase your check raising frequency, and
Mm-hmm.
they are decreasing the check raise frequency. So that
Mm-hmm.
means they don't understand theoretically that spot, and they are probably also calling a lot of hands they shouldn't be calling. And I want to see that in here actually. We can see that. I want to see if on that boards we're gonna find calls with pocket pairs. Let's go ace, Broadway, low. Let's see if we have, look at this, low pockets we're gonna find. Ace Jack 6 call with 8s, Ace 10 3 call with 9s, all faults or check raises. Ace 10 8 call with 6s. You see, like Nick, what I told you, this is huge.
Yeah.
Look at this. Let's go triple Broadway. Triple Broadway two tone. Okay, here we don't have low pockets. And we see low pairs like ace 10 is a check raise, like you're not going to play profitably ace 10 on the queen 10, queen 10, king queen 10, ace 10 on the king jack 10. This is like perfect hand for check raising. So definitely they are not turning bottom pairs or low pockets into check raises. And I want to see if they're calling on, let's say, two Broadway's rainbow. I want to see if they're low pockets, and they are. Actually, they are. So again, we see they don't understand strategy. They're calling King 6-10 with threes, King Jack 3 with eights. This is complete false. And this proves they don't understand this spot because we see a calls with the low pockets they should be never calling, and they're not turning into bluff the bottom pairs they should be turning into bluff. They're just playing passive and call it off. So this means they're not understanding the theory from these situations, and especially that's important 150 blinds deep. This is the huge mistake. 100 blinds, 150 blinds is crucial mistake. So definitely something nice to see. One more stats I want to see. I want to see their check raise, check check bet. So this is check raise and check. Let's see how much they will give up after they check raise the flop. We see that 38% is weak, and I want to see check raise check bet river just to see, you see how much they will bluff. We see that they will bluff actually 32%. So this is the spots they will actually turn into bluff. So when they check raise, they will mostly be betting. They will mostly be betting their value portion of range. That's the most important thing. They're continuing 62%. So when they check raise and check, their range is starting to fall apart. They don't have much of the value range there, value hands, and they actually then use a lot of these hands as a bluffs on river, like complete trash, like complete trash ace highs and stuff like that. So this is the spot where they will also be bluffing, and a lot of people said in this situation it's hard to find bluffs. So they seems to find the bluffs there. And I think we can conclude this with that last thought, Nick. A lot of mistakes deep. This is maybe the biggest, the widest window for us to take advantage, and this is something that is a must know. What do you say, Nick? We go with quick summary and then we finish the video for today.
Yep.
Generally, this is the summary from the three bet pods we've gone through. It's not perfect because I didn't write everything, but we can just summarize it. First, most bluff spots is triple barrel. We saw low paired boards, low card on river. This is the spot they mostly like to bluff on. Most under bluff spots are ace xx, straight completer, flush completer, straight and flush completer. Barely any bluffs going on. This is for three bet pots. Out of position, they check fold 68% when you're on the river, any two card bluffs. And on the river, worst spot for bluffs was 58%, if you remember, and that was when the ace hit the river. So this is a spot you don't want to bluff, but ace on the river. I'm going to just put it like this. Ace on the river is the worst spot for bluffing in this situation. Any other is 68% plus, so definitely take that. In position 3 better, they are over c betting. Checking range with a lot of medium strike hands. You want to attack that with over betting turn plus betting river. They are over c betting low connected flush draw boards. They are betting 75% plus. We want to check raise range against them. I told about that strategy. Check it out if you didn't. We want to check raise range. We don't want to have any calling range. We're just going to check raise or fold. Then big blind three, cut down the three bet from the big blind because they are over calling three bet. So if you're betting polarized range, you need to turn off these lowest equity bluffs because they're just overcalling. The range will be too strong, so it doesn't have sense to play this polarized range when they are overcalling it with hands that dominate that range. So especially big blind versus early and middle position, you want to definitely cut down the bluffs. Then we go into the imposition call of the 3-bet. They are all folding a little bit of the c-bet, most on ace xx, ace Broadway x, 2 Broadway, and 3 Broadways. And we saw that they are actually raising in position really bluffy on the low pair boards, high pair board, plus trips boards, and queen xx boards. So definitely something to take into account because they are actually continuing a lot on turns and rivers. So you definitely want to know that information. They have a medium stroke back check range, and that means when they are check backing as an imposition 3-better, they have a lot of hands they shouldn't be there. They're not betting range on the spots that are range bet, and then they have a lot of these top pair, middle pair hands, and you want to recognize that. And when they're having this betting range on this kind of boards, you want to attack them because a lot of the top pair hands, middle pair hands would be actually in the check node, so their betting node will be a lot more bluffier. You want to attack them with delay c-bets, like we said, and you want to use big sizes. They are falling to 120% plus 73%, and you want to continue on rivers because they fall insanely 73%. And then we can conclude this with deep pots. Again, they're over c-betting generally, especially low connected boards. They're playing that really bad. Even low boards and low connected boards over c-betting. Betting hands they should be betting. They are on also over 3-betting after they bet and you raise. They go highly on with their over pairs. They go highly in the node with immediately 3-betting, and you can highly exploit them in that matter by raising small size and attacking their when they are calling this spot, because a lot of over pairs are going to be in the node of 3-betting on the flop. And we should also attack them with check raises a lot on the high frequency bet boards because of their checking ranges there. We saw a lot of top pairs, medium pairs. So when they're going to bet that these high frequency boards they're going to be bet, they're going to have in the other node of checking node, there are going to be a lot of top pair hands. So they're going to be air heavy in the c-bet node. So this is huge thing, air heavy in the c-bet node. And again, what we were talking about, over c-betting on low connected boards and the queen xx boards, and also on the low board. So definitely this is deep. You want to punish them immediately with check raising because they are doing something that is totally on GTO, and you can attack them heavily in that spot. Again, we also said that check back range in position. Ace 3-bet caller is really weak. They are all falling to lazy bet, use a bigger size, and when they check back turn range, you can bet river over 75 and 82% to an overbet, huge hotspots. So this is just a quick summary. You can go in details to see in the every spot in the video. Really crazy stuff, and I'm really excited we have the opportunity to see this. I want to thank Nick make this all possible. He gave us all the hands and access to everything. So thank you, Nick. Thank you for being with me. It's pretty late now. It's almost, I mean, 3 o'clock in the morning in to Nick, 1 o'clock in the morning. Nick, thank you. It was pleasure, and we're gonna continue doing this, right?
Yeah, thank you, Marco, for also for that. I was mostly listening in that video because I think it's the right thing to do because I respect Marco. He's an incredible player, and from the player perspective, I think for me it was the best coaching poker coaching session because if I would play, if I would play, I would take a lot from this video and all of this. I mean, all of this data and how you interpret it and all the advices. It's really valuable. And that one more thing I want to say is that it's crazy what kind of tools we have now, right? So
Yeah,
just
this
the
is
people who just don't know.
completely
I
insane.
mean, the only thing that stops you from progressing is just if you really don't want it, because you can get hand to node, you can get Marcos hot store. It's breakthrough. It's very good HUD and pop-ups that we used in this video. You can get hand to node, you can get Marcos HUD, you can get hands. By the way, the hands were provided by his hands guys. Thanks for them. So you can buy hand histories from them. You can load everything, and you can run this kind of analysis. I mean, like it's okay to discuss hands Marco's channel. It's very nice when you like exchange opinions, and it's very useful. But still, before that, you can just, for example, you have a controversial hand, right? You don't know how to play. You're in the tough spot on the river, and you think that you have no idea, like because you don't have enough sample on the player, or it's like anonymous, and what you can do, you can just run this spot in range research, and you can see how typically that kind of players play in that spot. Because now we only break down the pool in general, okay? So we just run through the general tendencies of the GG poker. But if
Yeah.
you make it some filters, for example, for the fishes, maybe we can do that. Marco do that in the next videos when we can see how recreational players play. Will be different.
Or regs or
Yeah, or
best
Rex,
regs in the pool, or
best
just
Rex.
like
It will be
winner,
different.
like a big winners.
Yeah, it will be different data. So when you're a controversial spot on the river, you can put the approximate filters like for this kind of players, and you can see literally how the composition of their range, the composition of their reaction to different bet sizings. You can see all of that, so you can make an assumptions how would they react to different sizings. So it's all like at your hand. You can settle everything today, right? It's really easy.
It
It's
has
not it Yeah, it's a bit technically, but it's not that hard to have settle all it up on your PC. So we just
yeah
break down the main GG poker tendencies. It's very I was again, thanks for like inviting me. It was pleasure to me to listen all that stuff.
yeah
And yeah, so what else? What else?
yeah.
Maybe you
The thing is that we actually did only four. We did go actually only through five pop-ups. So this is like just for the three bet situations, and
hmm
we did in details, but we didn't go in super high detail. You can also go in high details of this, but the main thing is that today there is a meta today of the MDA stuff, and
hmm
MDA is such a powerful thing because when you're doing this, you don't need to know the GTO. You don't need to know the GTO. You don't need to know the exploit poker. It's good to know that, but you don't need to know that. So if you just know this, what I just gave you, these informations, just and you don't even need to break down the pool. Okay, if you want to get into the more corrected against the fish, against the good regs, against the top regs, it's going to be more accurate. But this is still pretty accurate. This is the pool you're playing. So it's really accurate. The pool plays like this. So even if you don't know anything about GTO, or even
hmm
if you don't know anything about exploitive poker, you can use this and make results still. There is a lot of MDA schools, a lot of Argentinian guys that I know from my poker that are playing just MDA and they're winning
hmm
money. So if you make a detailed MDA and this with Breaktrough HUD, you can go in insanely deep analysis. You can just do this for every possible spot. You can just go, okay, I have ace XX board, king XX boards. I can bluff here, I can bluff here. I I need to raise as a bluff here. I need to barrel there. And you will, if you go to details through all of these spots, you made such a powerful learning tool, and you don't even need to go into the theory because this will work. This is the data. Data doesn't lie. If you're playing like this and make them fold in the spots they are folding, they're just gonna overfold these spots. So for this to not be accurate, they need to change their complete game. And people are not doing that. You see how much today we done. We saw that they are not even studied deep play at all. They are doing it out of the theory like completely. And we also see that in the out of position three better. So just think about this, Nick. We didn't even go to the multi-way pots.
hmm
Multi-way pots that are extremely on GTO because there are rarely solvers that do multi-way pots, and I did have access to one of these solvers, and a lot of people didn't ever have access to multi-way tool. So just think what you need to do, what you can do MDA in the multi-way pods. So this is only beginning. We can also do this for like multi-way pots, four-bet pots, big blind versus small blind versus big blind, button versus big blind. A lot of things we can also do, and I hope we will do it if the people will like this video and what we're giving here. But there's like huge opportunity to crush literally any field because MDA is such a powerful tool. If people will not change their game, you have a cheat code basically. You have like, if you're playing like computer game, you enter the cheat code like in GTO, in the Grand Theft Auto GTA. You have the cheat code for all the possible weapons, and you're going on the street. People have knife, you have machine gun. You have bazooka, he's having the like Magnum pistol, and you have a bazooka, and you have like unlimited amount of grenades. That is what this is giving to you. Until they are not gonna arm, not gonna get an armor, get a lot of weapons, tools, they're not gonna be able to do anything against you. So this is such a powerful tool, and it's even more powerful today in today games than Solver, because Solver is not gonna give you much money. Many people that play GT oriented, they are not crushers. They are winners, but they are not crushers. Crushing comes from exploiting, and MDA is exploiting the pool. So this is something that just using this, you will make money. That's 100% because if they're not changing their game, you're gonna win money, and you're gonna win more money than the GTO because GTO is a defensive strategy, and this is like pure offense. You're purely attacking their breaking ranges and their ludicrous things they shouldn't be doing. So this is like a cheat code if you're going to use it properly. And Nick and me, our plan is to give you all the details from all the spot for GG Network, because on GG Network there is no HUD and people don't have access to this kind of hand to node breakthrough HUD all together with hands. They don't have access to, and that's why Nick and me decided to make this happening. So I think this is the most powerful thing you can do for for the site that doesn't have HUD. And of course, what you said, I completely agree. If we want to be in more details, then we can break them regs, top regs, fish, uh, weak regs, nits, and compare them all together. Then you would have the like complete MDA analysis, and you will be unstoppable basically until they change their game. That's like 100% because this is what the pool is actually doing. Until they are doing what they are actually doing, they can be highly exploited because they are far from the GTO in any sense of the world or word. Especially like we said, this is like pretty, we did go through pretty like basic stuff of the range, like three bet pots only basically. Just think about how much you can exploit them small blind versus big blind when the ranges are huge and wide. Or how can you explain them big blind versus small blind where you can defend like 67% range in position, and then just like multi-way pots where nobody knows exactly how to play GTO. Just think about how wide open for exploitation is there. So definitely a lot more we can show, and I hope we can do it in the next videos. I think we can conclude with this. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, yeah. So thank you guys for watching. And
Yes,
yes,
thank you for watching, and
subscribe to
we'll be
Marco's
back.
channel. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I really want to for us to, because I want to make a Nick. This is basically Nick's idea that we're gonna make stuff that nobody made. And if you like this kind of stuff, subscribe to our channel, follow us, and we will do some crazy things like this again.
Yep. See you guys in the next videos.
Bye.